on average, just in the United States, about 220 people die every single day from an opiate overdose. And by the time we finish this show, 8 to 10 people are going to die from an opiate overdose. If we get even one person, one viewer with this program that we might be able to help with some of the information that's shared on here, then it's all worth it.
Yeah, look at that jerk-off jerk. He's a real piece of work. Rolling and smoking cheap tobacco. He ain't nothing but a loudmouth wacko. Fuck that guy. Yeah, fuck that guy. It ought to be a crime. He ain't no friend of mine. Fuck that guy. Yeah, it ought to be a crime. He ain't no friend of mine. Fuck that guy.
Don't get angry with me.
And what the fuck are you doing on TV anyhow? You know I get calls from back home every fucking day. They think you went bad shit. You wanted to go on TV.
Yeah, I did want to go on TV. That way I have a forum. I can fight back. I'm known. People see me. They know they can't fuck around with me like they could if I was an unknown. That's right,
You're making a big fucking spectacle of yourself.
Why you angry with me? Why angry?
I don't respond to this nonsense. If you're a public figure, sadly, but it's part of it. Some people are going to hate you. That's how it goes. If you're a true pro, you brush it off and you move on. He's pulling a Meghan Markle, right? He's like, can't believe how outrageous.
Don't get angry with me.
Things are happening in a place that you ignore. A place that, by the way, has already forgotten about you. I mean, who the fuck are you? You hate bloggers. You mock Twitter. You don't even have a Facebook page. You're the one who doesn't exist. You're doing this because you're scared to death, like the rest of us, that you don't matter. And you know what? You're right. You don't. It's not important, okay? You're not important. Get used to it.
Don't get angry with me. Why you angry with me? Why angry? Don't get angry with me.
Don't get angry with me. Everyone, it's your old pal Glenn Victor. Peace and welcome to the Dare Me podcast, the Resentment Ships edition, episode 45 of the Dare Me podcast. Just thought we'd start the show off with those two fun reels that we used all week long as promos for tonight's show, and we'll talk a little bit more about those as we get into the show. It's going to be a really good show tonight, man. We got a lot of good stuff we're going to talk about. We will, in fact, be talking about resentments, the number one offender for people trying to stay drug and alcohol free and live with peace in their life. It is a real challenge for some people, and we're going to be talking about that. We're going to do a deep dive into those topics tonight. We got some really cool shout-outs we're going to do, some fun music stuff, and you know we got to talk about those Detroit Lions, my hometown football team that took it to my second hometown team, the Tampa Bay Bucks, today to move on, but you know I had to root for the Detroit Lions, so we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But speaking of Tampa and Florida, we got to bring in now our co-host and producer for the show, live from Orlando, Florida. There he is, that boy, Dean Baker. Happy Sunday, Dean.
Hey, Glenn. How you doing?
I'm good, and I guess I should mention that I'm coming to you live, everyone, from Sacramento, California, here on the West Coast, and Dean is all the way over on the East Coast, live from Orlando, Florida, and we'd like to welcome any of you who might like to call in and join the show. We'll put the telephone number up on the screen, and if you'd like to call in, you're more than welcome and be part of the conversation. We'll flash that number on the screen throughout various times tonight during the show. Put it out there for anyone who may just be listening and not watching right now. You can call us live anytime at 407-924-3946. I see we've already got people in the viewing room. Want to say hello and happy Sunday to all of y'all. So right out of the get-go, man, I wanted to say this, that, we are into episode 45 of this show, and we committed to doing one full year. We started back on March 11th of last year, so we're coming up on it quick. And our goal was to do 50 shows, and we are going to hit 50. So with this being 45, we got 5 more to hit that goal. Now, we talked about it last week that we're going to continue on with the podcast. We're not going to keep going live every single Sunday at our usual time, 6 p.m. on the West Coast, 9 p.m. on the East Coast. We're going to start recording the podcast during the week, and then we'll run it at our usual time, but it won't always be live. We'll still go live every once in a while, but Dean and I have kind of been held hostage, if you will, every Sunday night doing this podcast religiously. Anyway, more to come on all that, y'all, but where I was going with that is now up to episode 45. I was reflecting back this past couple of weeks, actually, since the new year, and thinking about all the different shows we've done. We've had some really fun shows and some great ones. Some of them a little cringe here and there, because I will tell you, none of this stuff is scripted. Deed'll vouch for me on that. We have an outline and a structure, and we kind of, I produce a lot of this stuff too, with the slides and the videos and the topics we talk about and all that, but nothing is scripted. So, yeah, there's a little cringe in there every now and then. At the end of the day, though, we do have a lot of fun with this show. We get great feedback, some of which we're going to talk about tonight, by the way. Anyway, where I'm going with all that is, man, the time has just flown by. I can hardly believe we're coming up on 50 episodes just 5 from now. We've had some great guests. Shout out and thank you so much to all of the great guests that we've had over the course of these past 44 episodes prior to tonight. Just great guests. If you're new to the Dare Me podcast, I can't encourage you enough to go back and look at some of the previous episodes. Got to put that plug in. Go to the Dare Me podcast YouTube channel, click on the videos tab, and every single edition of the show is there. You can click on the live tab, and you'll see all the stuff we talk about before we actually go live. That's the raw version, if you will. But the cleaned up, edited versions are right there on the Dare Me podcast YouTube channel under the videos tab with all the titles and names and all the different stuff. Lots of fun, cool videos on there, y'all, of the Dare Me podcast. Anyway, where I was going with all that, y'all, is I was reflecting these last couple weeks thinking, man, there's so many different things that I wanted to talk about on this podcast that I had planned and thought about, and different guests I'd like to have on, some of which we will still have on. Even if we don't get them on before we hit that 50, we'll get them on after that. But there's topics having to do with what this show is all about that we just haven't spent as much time on as I've wanted to pretty much all along. Well, tonight we are going to talk about a couple of those topics. Number one is resentments, and the other one is relationships. And so I kind of made up this word, resentmentships, and we're going to talk about both of those topics tonight because they are so very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? They can be very sensitive areas, I guess is what we'll say, for those in, everyday life, let alone people in recovery from addiction and alcoholism or whatever you want to call it, substance abuse disorder. In fact, I put it out there in some social media posts this past week that in the Alcoholics Anonymous big book, if you're not familiar with it, it says in there that resentments are the number one offender that destroys alcoholics, whether they're still drinking or trying to get sober or trying to live sober. And we're going to touch on that and like I said, do a deep dive into that topic in this podcast tonight. I just thought I'd kind of do a little bit of an intro here right on the front end about that, because like I said, we're 45 episodes in now, and this is a topic I've been wanting to talk about for a while that affects yours truly as well. Believe me, I'm just like anybody else, man. I have my good days, I have my bad days, and when I have my bad days, sometimes them old resentments will creep right in and start fucking with my peace, and I don't like it, man. That's one part of me I really do try to keep at bay. So we're going to talk about it. I'll share some of the practical things that have been taught to me in my journey in recovery that maybe might be able to help some of you if you're watching our podcast. And so let's talk just briefly about my journey in recovery. I always try to do that right out of the get-go at the beginning of every episode. And you can see Dean just put those hashtags up at the top of the screen. Appreciate that, bro. Those are all acronyms, if you will, for the name Dare Me. Our Dare Me name was, first of all, kind of incorporated into, this show, the title of the show, as a way for, me to say, dare me to come out and talk openly about my addiction and the journey and the struggles I went through becoming addicted, hopelessly addicted to opioid pain medication, man. I went on a 9-year run with that shit. I broke my ankle. I got prescribed it. I ain't making excuses, y'all. I'm not trying to blame it on the surgeons or the doctors. I should have known better than take that shit, but I did. Oh, and it worked. It worked great. If you know, you know. That shit makes you feel great, man. This whole exaggerated sense of well-being, as it's described. Well, yeah, that was the case with me. Works great until it doesn't anymore. And then you got to take more and more and more for it to, give you even close to the feeling it did when you first started taking. And then eventually you build up this tolerance, and it doesn't work at all anymore. It makes you sick. Dope sick, literally dope sick if you don't take it. And so you're just taking it to feel right, just to try to feel normal. But oh my God, does it fuck with your system? The cold sweats, you get constipation. Oh man, does that shit bind you up? All that opioid shit. And I burned through them all, y'all. It went a 9-year run. Started off with Vicodins, Norcos. They prescribed me when I broke my ankle. And, then I went from those to Perks, to Oxys, to Demerol, to Lauded, and at the end, y'all, yeah, man, I ain't proud to admit it, I was snorting heroin because I couldn't get the pills, and I would get so dope sick. And by that time, man, you got all kind of connections, believe me. If you know, you know. And one of your plugs might say, well, hey, bro, we're supposed to get some of the good pills in a few days, but, if you don't want to get sick, I got some heroin that'll hold you over for now. It's a fucking miracle that I ain't dead, literally. I mean, everybody's got their war stories. I ain't trying to say I was any worse or any better than anybody else. I'll also say, yeah, man, all that shit's laced with fentanyl now, and I got war stories. Some I've told on this podcast, and I got more I'll tell, You saw the pictures if you were watching that opening reel of me. That's from a blackout, and I showed them on purpose, talking about resentments, man. We're going to talk about that. Somebody I know who I care a lot about, told me, well, you should never show them pictures to anybody. Man, you don't tell me what not to do, So, of course, I had to show them and put them all out there. And that's, again, with the whole Dare Me podcast name, like dare me to fucking put them out there. Yeah, man, that's how bad it got for me, that I ended up like that, and there's a long story that goes along with those pictures, man, because I had been clean and sober for over 6 years again when I started taking them fucking pills. And then, like I said, it was a 9-year run. At the last couple years of that, I was trying to get off of them. It wasn't like one day I just woke up, which, by the way, I should say, I didn't even say it yet. I am 100% drug free, sober, clean, whatever the fuck you want to call it now. And the good Lord willing, I will have not one, not two, but 3 years clean again on March 11th. Yeah, that's my clean date, man. That is the very last time I ever put a opiate in this fucking body, was March 11th. Almost 3 years ago, and that's the clean date I go by, y'all. I use some medication-assisted treatment stuff, to get through the opiate withdrawals, to kind of help me through that. But I haven't put an opiate in this body since March 11th. That is my clean date, as far as I'm fucking concerned. And anyway, where I was going with that, y'all, is those pictures you saw in the reel were a result of me picking up the fucking bottle again. Yeah, man, I started drinking again after being 6 years sober. And the only reason I did was to try to help me get through those opiate withdrawals, because it's the worst thing I've ever been through in my life. All the horror stories you've ever heard about kicking, dope, heroin, opiates, they're true, man. They are fucking true. It was awful. It was literally awful. I mean, the cold sweats, the restless leg and arm syndrome. You feel like you got a hamster running on a wheel in your chest. You can't sleep. You can't eat. Oh, my God, the insomnia for days. You feel like you're climbing the walls. You feel like you want to die. It's coming out of both ends, the whole 9 yards, man. I can get real graphic, but you literally do feel like you want to die. I know everybody goes through withdrawals at different levels based on how long you were using, how much you were using, what you were using, whatever. All I know is for me, after 9 fucking years of that shit, it was horrible. I never, ever, ever, ever want to go through that again. And, I'll say some days, man, my sick thinking will romance getting loaded again. It will literally romance that shit after everything it did to me. And if you're a real one, you know what I'm talking about, man. I was just talking about this at a meeting the other night. Thank God, man. Somebody said to me, Glenn, it's normal for an addict to think about using. I don't give a fuck how long you've been clean. So, that told me that it's normal for me to think about it and romance it. Where I'm going with that, though, y'all, is when I think about the hell that I went through kicking that shit, some days that's the only fucking thing that does keep me clean. Is like, oh, hell no, I ain't going back to that shit. Because I'll romance it sometime. Well, man, maybe I'll just go to the bar, have a few drinks, the game's on, which we're going to talk about in a second, all that other stuff, and then, boy, that thinking kicks in. Yeah, if I have a drink, next thing you know, man, I'll be wanting to get some of the good and all the other shit, and, oh, man, right back at it, That's the thing about, if you're a real one, once we put that shit in our body, all bets are off, man. There's no telling where it'll end. And unfortunately, for some of us, for guys like me, man, once we start, it's like we just go till the wheels fall off, Not everybody's like that, Some people can have a drink on the weekend or just smoke a little weed every once in a while. Or I don't understand how the fuck people can just do a little blow or fucking pills every once in a while. I just don't get it. I never understood that, because that was never me. It was either all balls to the wall or nothing at all, no in between. And yeah, man, I played that game with myself, so I learned that ain't any way I can do it. So anyways, yeah, I really went off on a little tangent there, y'all, but that's the name, Dare Me. Dare me to come out and talk about some of the things that we talk about on this show. And those acronyms that we had up the top there, y'all, those were, taken from the letters in the name Dare Me that we talk about: drugs, addiction, recovery, enlightenment, which we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. Talk a lot about music and how that's been so helpful to me in my journey. I just got a message from my beautiful daughter, Alyssa. It's her birthday this week, by the way. Shout out, Alyssa, my beautiful girl. We we were messaging earlier. We're going to have dinner this week, and she literally just texted me while I'm running my mouth on the show here today. So anyway, there's our first shout out. Yeah, y'all. So that's kind of the rundown of the show and what the show is all about. And as we say in the introduction to the show, that really cool intro that Dean put together for us, if we can help even one person with the information that's shared on here, then it's all worth it. And if you're a regular viewer or listener to our podcast, you know that we have accomplished that 10 times over plus some. And we're going to share some very special DMs with you tonight that we got on the podcast that I get bombarded with on a regular basis, man. If you know about how this podcast has grown, we got our annual recap of views that we're going to show a slide for a little bit later. Over 21,000 people tuned into just the Dare Me Podcast YouTube channel from March through December of last year. Blows my mind. So yeah, y'all, we get lots of messages, lots of DMs and things to that nature with this podcast. And so we have helped some people. Now, part of the reason I bring that up, y'all, is because when I decided to start this podcast, certainly I was hoping that would happen, and this podcast has taken on a life of its own. I'll also say I've learned that this has also been a healing process for me. Man, especially, this past year, keeping me accountable, because like I said, y'all, I ain't a fucking lie. Yeah, I think about getting loaded still. I still think about it, I think I always will. There are some things I miss about it. I romance it, but I just know that with me, if I start and put it in my body, sooner or later, it might not happen the next day or the next week or even the next month. It could, as the old saying goes now, one pill can kill with all this fentanyl and all this other bullshit. But I know that if I put it in my body sooner or later, I'll crash and burn, because it's happened to me not once, not twice, but a few times. If you know my whole story, that's the case. So anyway, like I was saying, y'all, this process of doing this podcast has been very healing for me as well. So yeah, we've helped other people, but in the process, I've helped myself too. What I'll also say is that was part of the catalyst and reason for the topic for tonight's show of dealing with resentments. Not everybody likes this show. This show ain't for everybody. There are people that have been part of my life since I can remember that ghost me now, don't even talk to me anymore, have never reached out to me. I've heard from people I never thought in a million years that follow me on social media, friends I've known for years who've been casual acquaintances who've sent me messages like, oh my God, Glenn, thank you so much for what you're doing. Oh my God, bro. Like I said, the messages we get from people reaching out saying, oh my God, I didn't know, can you help my family member? Or, we've had people on here saying they're going through it, asking us for help, So it's so weird how sometimes the old saying, man, you don't even get props from your own family sometimes, but perfect strangers, will reach out and tell you how much you're making a difference in their life. What the fuck? So yeah, man, anyway, with all that said, y'all, I put some kind of pointed promos out there this week. I pulled some clips from a few movies, that whole Joe Pesci, Robert De Niro exchange in the desert from the movie Casino, where he's like, what the fuck are you doing on TV anyway? You're making a goddamn spectacle of yourself. Well, I put out there, man, when art imitates real life, because yeah, I know there are people that feel that way. There are people who just don't like the way that I'm putting it all out there with this podcast. Don't like the way I present it. Don't like the language I use, But I've said it before on this podcast. Yeah, we drop F-bombs left and right. We talk freely. We also put a content warning on the front end of this show, letting you know that, hey, man, if you're in your little lily white suburb and your virgin ears don't want to hear the cussing and swearing, then don't fucking listen. This show ain't for everybody. And by the way, that's done for a reason. Number one, I want to be authentic on here, okay? I talk that way in my real life, and I'm talking that way on here now. You're getting the authentic Glenn on this show. And also, for people that we're trying to reach who are going through struggles with addiction, trying to get clean, we want to get down to their level, because when you're going through them fucking withdrawals that I described and was talking about, believe me, you ain't sparing no language, man, because you're going through fucking hell. And so we do believe in the philosophy that sometimes you got to meet people at their own level. And, there's a whole, so we talked about this at a meeting last night. There's a whole psychological study about how when people drop F-bombs and are cursing and swearing in their colorful language, man, ordinarily you're getting legit information. They're showing you the authentic person, the real deal, So we ain't trying to offend no one, and I don't necessarily drop F-bombs on purpose and all that other shit. But yeah, man, we talk straight on this show, and it ain't for everybody. So if you get easily offended by that stuff and you don't want to tune in, hey, do you. It ain't for everybody. We're trying to play to the crowd we're trying to play for. So anyhow, with all that said, if you got a problem with what we do, that's on you. How do I say it on this show? And I was taught what other people think of us is none of our fucking business. Do you? Of course, I care what some people think about me. I mentioned my daughter who just messaged me a minute ago. And of course, we've had my son G on the show as a guest many times, which, by the way, we got some really special news about him coming up soon. I ain't going to let the cat out of the bag yet. If you follow him on social media or family member, you already know. But him and I talked about it a couple days ago, and we're going to have him back on the show real soon to reveal his really cool, it's really freaking cool news, y'all. But anyway, what I was saying is, of course, it matters to me what some people think of me, like my children and others, But at the end of the day, when it comes to what we're doing with this show, what other people think is really none of my business. We're just trying to be authentic and do the right thing on here, and it ain't for everybody. You got to play to the crowd you're playing for, as that saying goes. So anyway, that was a long-ass introduction to the show. I really didn't know I was going to go that long with setting the whole show up, y'all, but it is what it is. Like I told y'all during the little rant I just went on, nothing's scripted on this show. I will tell you, I always have some notes, and we have an outline, and we have structure. We have an order to it all, but I would never be able to do what I do on this show if anything was scripted. That would be such a fucking boring ass show and stilted if I was sitting here reading to you like, no, I wouldn't watch or listen to a podcast where somebody's reading. Every now and then, because I do check out other podcasts, I'll come across some that you can tell, man, oh my God, is this stilted as hell? That motherfucker just reading, and it's like, I don't have patience for that. So anyway, yeah, at the very least, y'all, we keep it colorful and authentic on this podcast. So with all that said, let's bring this photo up, Dean. I like showing this, and I want to give a little plug to you, my man. This is me and Dean live at that picture was when I was in Orlando at the PFX Media studios there in the greater metropolitan Orlando area. And Dean, has a great setup there, y'all. And I just wanted to show some pictures. I was there visiting when I was in Orlando not long ago. We did a live version of the show from the studios there. And, of course, I had been there before. But I just wanted to say, if you may be a person watching, listening, come across the recorded version of our show, you need any kind of TV, film, editing, webcasting, live webcasting, or maybe you have thought about doing a podcast yourself and you're watching or listening to ours right now, Dean and PFX Media are your folks. And Dean, what's the best way for people to reach out to you and contact you if they were wanting to talk to you about some of that stuff?
Let me put a link up there, maybe.
Yeah.
you
And
know.
by the way, y'all, we do have a live chat room. I will tell you, Dean, that the show is a little bit slower than usual tonight because there is a football game on right now. The Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs are playing, and I know a lot of our followers are big football fans. See, we do got some people in the viewing room. Want to send a shout out to you, and of course, always send a shout out to all the folks that come to the recorded version of the show. That's where we get most of our views and listens. But there's a way to contact Dean, the website and the telephone number. So yeah, man, hey, podcasting is like so freaking popular now. It seems like everybody and their brothers doing a podcast, including yours truly. Just like I say, y'all, be careful what you ask for because you just might get it. Here we are into episode 45, almost a year long of doing this thing. We had over 21,000 views on our YouTube, just our YouTube channel, because by the way, I always like mentioning this. We are live, not just on YouTube. We are live on, like a half dozen different Facebook pages. We're live on several YouTube channels. We're live on X. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Threads. We're live on, what's that one? Twitch, Dean? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yeah, all these different platforms, y'all, so, but just on that YouTube channel, as we're going to talk about them a little bit more in a little bit, over 21,000 views, man. And so, like I said, be careful what you ask for. You just might get it. However, I will say, it's a lot of work, and it does take out a life of its own, but I have had the time of my life this past year doing this show, y'all. And so if you've ever thought about doing a podcast, contact Dean. He's working with some great colleagues, and you can see from the photos, he's got great facilities. That's just one studio. There's a couple in that, or one, what would I call it, sound stage? There's a couple in the studio there.
Yeah, we got like 4 different featured room setups, whatever you want to call it, for podcasting. So yeah,
and
it works out.
I should say too, Dean, we haven't talked that much about it on this show with you, but Dean has a sitcom called IMDb that was independently produced and written and done with local actors in the Orlando area that I think is cool as hell, man. So anyway, if any of y'all have ever thought about doing your own sitcom, man, they got different sets there and the whole 9 yards. So yeah, man, just want to give a little plug to my boy Dean, and there's his contact information. So okay, y'all, moving along, we're gonna get into some of the meat and potatoes of the show now. If you know your old pal Glenn Victor, that I had to talk about this. The Detroit Lions played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today, and man, it's always a tough one for me, because I was born and raised in Detroit. I lived there for the first 30 years of my life. And then I lived in Central Florida for the next 30 years of my life. So, of course, I'm a Florida fan, too. I love the Bucs, love the Dolphins. But now when they play the Detroit Lions, I've been riding with that team since I can remember. Literally since I was a little kid, y'all. I was raised on sports. And I know sports ain't for everybody. I swear to God, I know people that they could give 2 shits. It's like they don't watch no games. They don't care. They'll post shit on social media like, who cares? They give a fuck. All these fucking millionaires out there, I don't give a fuck what they think about politics, and I don't give a damn about the game, whatever. And I get it. If that's you, do you. I know people like that who could give a shit. In fact, talking about resentment, which we're going to talk about tonight, they sometimes got a resentment about it. I'll also say I'm just one of them guys that loves sports, y'all. I always have. I've been an athletic person most of my life, except for when I was fucking up on the dope and the booze and shit, I played hockey when I was a kid, I played football, I still play basketball, I played baseball, I go to the gym regularly, I'm just into the whole athletic thing, man. You know what I mean? And I was always that way. Even when I was a teenage pothead and all that other shit, I was still athletic. Anyway, I've been riding with all the Detroit teams forever, man. Detroit Tigers baseball team, Red Wings hockey team, Pistons basketball team, and these Detroit Lions, who, by the way, won their first playoff game in 30 years last Sunday. We weren't live last Sunday. We broadcasted not one but two episodes of the Dare Me podcast. We called it the Double D Show. Kind of a play on words because I did two shows during this past year all about Detroit. One we did live from Detroit, and then we did one the following week called Back from the D, which featured all kinds of cool Detroit stuff. And we rebroadcasted both of those last week so that I could watch the game that was on live while the Lions were playing the Los Angeles Rams. And they won that game to move on and play the Tampa Bay Bucks today. And they won the game, y'all. Oh, it was a nail biter. It kind of went right down to about the last 5 minutes of that fourth quarter. And then, the Lions ran away with it. And so, I had to do some screenshots. I said, man, people are really good with graphic art anymore, aren't they, Dean? Look at these fucking pictures, man. You know, you got the Buccaneer boat in the Detroit River, like it's coming into downtown, and that whole thing. So, now the Lions get to move on, to the next game, which is so bizarre because now, I live in Sacramento. I've been living here for a year and a half, which is just a hop, skip, and a jump down the road from San Francisco. This is truly Niners country, y'all. Hey, got to send a shout out to that boy Shebang who just came live with us in the chat room. He says, tuning in a little late. Detroit burst. Everybody. I get you, bro. I know. I say it all the time, man. But yeah. So anyway, it's kind of bizarre, y'all, that, here my hometown team I've rooted for my whole life, plays my second hometown team, the Bucks. And now next week they're playing my third hometown team, against the San Francisco 49ers. I've always been a Niners fan. Love the Niners, man. The Raiders were real big here, too, until they moved, to Vegas. And a lot of people still ride with the Raiders from this area. I will tell you that. But this is Niners country, man. Everybody around here going to be rooting for the Niners. So I got to represent for Detroit City. But before we move on, y'all, I got to play a couple of videos because if you're a regular Glenn Victor follower of mine on social media or the podcast, or knew me when I lived in Orlando for 30 years, I made a living in broadcasting and radio and television and, all the things, right? I mean, I had other stuff. I was a PR guy for a company for years and all that other stuff. But one of my jobs that I had was I was a traffic reporter. I worked for two companies, Metro Traffic Control and Traffic Pulse, for a combined 20 years just doing that. And, of course, I worked at the United Safety Council for 25 years. I had two careers there. But when I was doing the traffic reporting, y'all, I did a 2-year stint on the local CBS affiliate in Orlando, WKMG, Channel 6 News, right? And I was on the morning show. And this girl, God bless her, I haven't talked to her in so long, Michelle Chimino. If you see this girl, I hope life is treating you well. We made a friendly wager on a Thursday night football game. The Lions were playing the Bucks, and it was the second time they met that year. The Bucks won the first game, and then we made a friendly bet on the air that if the Lions won, she would have to wear a Detroit Lions jersey or T-shirt during one of her weather forecasts. And if the Bucks won, I would have to wear a Bucks jersey or T-shirt during a traffic report. And She was a good sport. And man, we had a lot of fun with that show, especially that first year I did it, y'all, because it was a real loose format. We had a news director who was like, hey, man, just do it like it's a morning zoo radio show. You know, if you go too far, I'll kind of pull you back in. And oh boy, yours truly went a little too far one time, but that's another story. Yeah, I learned real quick, bro. You got to be real careful talking about politics when you're on TV, when you start inserting your own, you know, what you think is humor opinion. But again, that's another story. So, anyhow, with all that said, I post this video on social media at least once a year. And I'm so glad that I have this video and that, you know, that show was recorded that day. We were doing it, you know, stuff about it during different breaks throughout the morning, but pulled this one and I keep dancing all around it. So let's go ahead and play this one. Dean, do you got that one handy? Of the Detroit Lions and Tampa Bay Bucks on Channel 6. I see
it.
it.
It is that time once again. You know, Glenn said he stayed up late, watched the game all the way past midnight. Unfortunately, he did not oversleep. He is here to do the traffic, but mostly to gloat.
Well, I believe this is what James Brown called the big payback, right?
Oh.
Bucks beat the Lions the first game they played this year, but not last night. And I got to say, we'll see her in a moment here, but Michelle Cimino looks extraordinary. Up there we go. Looks extraordinarily nice this morning now, doesn't she?
Gray is your color, Michelle.
Yes.
Oh, no way. Definitely not a Detroit fan. Now I just really can't stand them.
Oh.
And they keep putting this up behind me. What's up with that? Traffic weather, and I've got a score behind me. Let me hide it.
Well, we all know now that the Bucks lost to the Lions, but it was a great game last night. It really was a defensive battle. Michelle's being a good sport here this morning. She's wearing the stylish Lions T-shirt, and all is well in the Motor City this morning. So there you go. Let's move on and take a look at the roads for you right now, everyone. We'll check things out through our DOT camera in Seminole County, I-4 up to speed through Lake Mary Boulevard. No problems there. We'll take a look in downtown, check the SunTrust City Cam again at the 408. It's up to speed as well, just starting to pick up there. Let's take a look at things eastbound on I-4 right around SeaWorld. See, it's a little bit busier there for those headed into downtown from the south side. And we'll check our traffic map for you right now, seeing the usual buildup southbound on 1792 through 434 and 436. And now the moment that all the big Lions fans have been waiting for, our morning weather forecast from Michelle Cimino wearing the Detroit Lions T-shirt. Here we go.
You know, really the bad part of this, Glenn, is that the Bucks and Detroit have already met once. The Bucks won on that one. He should have to do something. But here I am in the Detroit Lions shirt. 68 degrees in Orlando. We've got 66 for Eustis, 63 up toward Ocalino, laughing in the studio, 65 for Altamont Springs, and 66 into Castleberry. And I'm going now to a full screen to show you what the rest of your day is going to look like. Lots of clouds, just a little bit of sunshine, a slight chance of rain. 84 for the afternoon high. The next time you see me, I will not be in this T-shirt. And Ken McLeod is really not earning granny points with me right now.
I just wanted to sympathize with you. That's it. You know, I knew you felt bad over there by yourself. So,
Glenn is loving this way too much.
Glenn's out of control.
All right.
We'll be back.
This is painful, but we will be back.
How about that? I couldn't resist showing that, y'all. I got to tell you, out of a 30-year career working in radio and television in Central Florida, I can honestly tell you that was, in fact, my very favorite day on the JOB and working on the air. I had so much fun. And I know the crew, all the producers, directors, camera people, and of course the anchors and my colleagues could tell how much fun I was having with that. So again, Michelle, if you see this, thanks for being such a great sport. And oh my God, it occurred to me as I was watching that, I have been so blessed in my life to have met some of the most fascinating and cool people, you know. And that was part of the reason, even with this show, that when we put the name together, you know, our little tagline is with Glenn Victor and Friends, because I have made so many cool friends over the years, and the two anchors you saw there certainly included with that. Ken McLeod, I haven't talked to him in a long time. Last I heard, he was working for, I think, a Fox affiliate up in the Massachusetts area. And, of course, the beautiful, talented Jackie London, who is a big shot in Philadelphia. She was a big shot in Orlando. Shout out Jackie if you see this. She is, I think, the news anchor for the 5, 6, and 11 o'clock news. I got a streaming box, and I can watch, you know, news in different cities around the country, and I'll tune in every once in a while. And, of course, see her stuff on social media. She's not real active on Facebook, but every once in a while she'll like something of mine, and we kind of see each other's stuff. But anyway, it was such an honor and a pleasure to work with that whole crew. And we also had another guy, a lot of y'all, if you're watching from Central Florida, Tom Terry, the weather guy, who is on WFTV Channel 9 now and has been for years and years. That's where he really made a name for himself during that year, the 3 hurricanes hit in a row. But Tom was doing morning weather at WKMG there for a while, too. Michelle would actually just kind of fill in once in a while, and she happened to be there during that week when that game was on. So anyway, I go on and on. Surprise, surprise. Any of my friends from Channel 6 watching or listening will remember, oh, yeah, Glenn ain't changed a bit, because I used to run my mouth during some of those segments and bits, and they'd be in my ear like, wrap it up, Glenn, wrap it up, wrap it up. Gotta go to break, gotta go to break. It was really one of the funnest gigs I ever had. The only thing that sucked about it, man, was I had to be to work so freaking early in the morning, man. Shout out and respect to all the anchors and, directors, producers, camera people, reporters that do those morning shows, man, because I get it, bro. It is not easy, man, getting up 3, 4 in the morning and all that shit. But anyway, enough about all that. So, when the Lions beat the Rams last week to move on to this game and beat the Bucks, I put a reel together that I posted on social media, and oh my God, it like blew up, man. I had so many people, comment on that thing. I hundreds of views. I had people sharing it left and right. And so I have a little fun with that stuff, creating them reels sometimes, man. I like to get creative and put music that fits to the background. So, Dean, if you would, do we have that reel handy, the Lions reel that I put together?
Hey, y'all remember I told y'all we was going to the Super Bowl, right? I said this, didn't I? All right, quit playing. Got another first down. We the Lions. We just got a touchdown. We the Lions. We just hit a field goal. We the Lions. We going to the Super Bowl. We the Lions. Got another first down. We the Lions. We just got a touchdown. We the Lions. We just hit a field goal. We the Lions. We going to the Super Bowl. We the Lions. First game of the season, so you know we had to take. Headed straight to the top. They thought we'd never make. So it's game time, and we got the Kansas City Chiefs. Now it's game over. Lions win. Kansas City beat. Coach did a good job. Way to start off the season. Gotta show the whole world for the ones ain't believing. So just know that we ready for whoever that they send. Cause we the Lions. All we do is fucking win.
This is a milestone moment for them to come in here and get this win. Not the same old Lions.
Because we the Lions, all we do is fucking win. Yeah, man, I'll tell you what. It's cool to be able to talk shit as a Lions fan, I'll tell you what, man. We've had to be so humble all these years. Even when we win games, it was like we've seen so much shit happen with that team bullshit ref calls over and over and over the years. I mean, just like bullshit calls. And just last-minute heart attack losses and shit over the years. This team is legit, y'all. I mean, worthy of shit talking for those of us that are Lions fans, because we do like to shit talk as sports fans, man. It's like this fucking Lions team is the shit. And I talked a little trash, like, okay, y'all, we going in, we going to take the Bucks down. And we did, too, man. We did. And I know I got a lot of friends in Florida, in Central Florida, that love the Bucks. I love y'all. But, hey, man, this is Lions time. So they've never been to the Super Bowl, and they are one game away. Never even been, let alone win, if they can beat the Niners next week, which is, like I said, right down the road from me here, they'll get there. And then, God, man, once you get there, that old saying in football, on any given Sunday, fuck, any team can win. So, we'll see, man. I'm still trying to decide what the hell I'm going to do for the game next week. Man, I could ride over to San Fran. I thought about flying back to Detroit because there's a shit ton of parties going on, people I know, and going downtown, all the rooftop clubs and all that stuff, man. But I also like watching the games at home so I can hear the announcers, see the replays and all that shit. I'm like one of them guys, so it's like, I don't fucking know. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet, but I just kind of feel like, man, like I said, I've been riding with this team since I was a kid. I literally was in tears when they won that game against the Rams last Sunday. Like a lot of people, like that one guy that they've been showing all over ESPN and the news, the crying Lions fan. But it's so emotional for a lot of people, man, because, real sports fans get it. You have a passion. And it's just like I've said on this show before, man, when you're rooting for your team, you ain't even necessarily rooting for the players or the coach or the owner or whatever. You're rooting for your fellow fans, man. And it runs deep, because so many fans are so passionate about their teams in the game, and then they fucking die, and they never got to see the Lions win a Super Bowl. People remember their childhood memories, some of their fondest childhood memories. Some of my fondest childhood memories are going to the Detroit Tigers baseball games at the old Tiger Stadium with my old man, with my grandfather and a couple of my uncles and shit when I was probably like fucking 6 years old, So I get it, man. The Lions have never been to the Super Bowl, let alone win one. And people do get, really emotionally, connected to their teams. In fact, I'm just going to say it, man. I think I talked about it on this show once before, Dean. You might remember last year, I don't even like bringing it up, at the end of the season, the Lions got screwed by a bullshit ref call. And I left the house because I had to walk it off. And I filmed a short video of me venting. And talking about dirty language, I must have dropped, and I'm not kidding, y'all, like probably 25, 30 F-bombs. And I was walking while I was filming this. I took my dog to the park, which is not, literally across the street. And I'm just walking it off, and I'm going on and on. I can't fucking believe these refs, blah, 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 blah. And I posted it on my Facebook page, and I put it on TikTok, too. And I got so many people sending me messages like, oh, good God, Glenn, you need to pull that down. My one sister, Carol, was like, are you fucking kidding me? You need to pull that down, man. I can't believe you went on and on about it, And so I had so many people telling me to take it down, so I did, off of the Facebook page. Well, then I go to the TikTok page to look at it there. I was going to take it down, and it blew up. And to this day, that is my most viewed TikTok reel. It's got like thousands of views, and so and more comments and likes than any video I've ever posted on any platform anywhere ever. And so many people, were commenting like, oh, God, the refs suck and all this other stuff. And so I left it up on TikTok. I pulled it off of my Facebook. It's all the other shit, but I left it on TikTok. And to this day, I still get notifications that people watch that thing. So anyway, the point I'm making, y'all, is, and if you want to see that, go to your old pal Glenn's TikTok, gbc.tv. It's in there. You have to look through. There's like 100 different videos in there now because I've been posting a lot on there last year, but it's still there. Anyway, though, the point I'm making is people do get emotionally attached to these teams. And like I said, you're not always just rooting for the team. You're rooting for your city, man. You're rooting for your fellow fans, your friends, your family. It's this bonding thing and the whole, you get the idea, man. If you're a sports fan, you're a real one, But like I said earlier, man, I know people who they could give two shits. They give a fuck about sports, and they even have an attitude about it. They cop a resentment about it, like, fuck all that, fuck them guys and millionaire motherfuckers, fuck all, and they intentionally won't watch it, or whatever. So, I don't know, man. Anyway, you knew I had to spend some time talking about my favorite football team, the Detroit Lions. Little bragging rights right now. We beat the Los Angeles Rams to get our first playoff victory in 30 years, and then last week, and then we beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers today to move on to this game next week against the San Francisco 49ers, and if we win, we go to the Super Bowl. The Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl for the very first time. Oh, my God, I'm trying to get emotional talking about it right now. So more to come on all that, y'all. We'll see what happens, but we bad. The Lions are really a great team this year. So anyhow, all that being said, y'all, man, gotta take a deep breath, kind of regroup. And now we are, in fact, going to transition into the topic that I have been promoting that this show was going to kind of be all about this week, and the focus of what this show really is. We try to provide entertaining content for anybody, and I think we do a pretty good job of it. I'll also say we really try to gear this program toward people that are looking to try to get clean and people that are living clean and trying to stay clean. And also for the family members of those who may be looking for a way out, looking for a way to try to help their loved one, their friend, their family member, their coworker, their colleague, their employee, whatever. You pick it. We try to share information that hopefully can be helpful to people in all of those different categories I just mentioned, in addition to providing fun and entertaining content like we just did, all about the Lions and all that other stuff, and some more coming up on the other side. We got some shout-outs, man, to some old friends of mine, and we're going to talk about some music, that boy George Clinton. We got a clip coming up and all kinds of other fun, cool stuff. But right now, y'all, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty, the meat and potatoes of what today's show and this show as a whole is all about. Trying to help people get clean and stay clean. And one of the things I thought would be a good way to start this conversation was with this slide. I pull stuff off of the internet and social media all the freaking time that I see because I'm all over social media, y'all. It's not always my favorite thing to do. It can be literally exhausting keeping up with all that stuff because, we got to post. We got to promote the podcast, man. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Insta. I'm on X. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Threads. I'm on TikTok, all this stuff, So anyway, yeah, it can be a wormhole, man. It can be a time warp. It can be an addiction. Got to really try to sometimes find balance. But when you're, marketing a product, a service, something like this podcast, you got to do it. You just fucking got to do it, and you got to be careful sometimes, try to find balance. But anyway, the point I'm making is I come across all this different stuff on all these different platforms. And I'm also a subscriber to different pages, podcasts, different things. And somebody posted this, and I thought it was perfect to use to start this conversation. If you are going to start living clean and sober, and you get through the withdrawals and all that other shit, because that's the hard part on the front end, is getting through those physical withdrawals and the mental anguish because you feel like you want to fucking die. But that passes. I promise you, it passes. If you're a person that came across this podcast and you're wanting to get clean, but you feel like you just can't fucking get through them withdrawals, believe me, you can do it. If I can do it, if all the other people that have participated in this podcast that we've had as guests on the show, you go back and watch previous episodes, can do it, you can do it. It's going through hell. Believe me, it ain't easy. It sucks. But like we often say on this show, that old quote from Winston Churchill that he used to share with the troops when they were going into battle that I like to repeat every week. If you're going through hell, keep fucking going. Don't stop and sit in that shit, like I did for so long. And sometimes you stop and sit in that shit, you never get out. You fucking die there. You don't want to do that, so just keep going, man. Go through till you get through the other side. Once you do, then it's all about maintaining your sobriety, your clean time, whatever the fuck you want to call it, clean and sober, whatever. Your recovery is going to make some people uncomfortable. And I'm talking people that are family, close relationships. It could be a husband-wife relationship, a parent-sibling relationship, a sibling relationship. Friendships certainly change. Employment situations change. Your colleagues, like I shared earlier in this podcast, from doing this podcast, man, I'm friends with a lot of colleagues that I worked with over the years in various capacities. I mean, literally hundreds and hundreds of people on social media who I'm acquaintances with. I never thought in a million years I would have heard from when we started doing this podcast who've reached out to me, thanking us for what we're doing, complimenting us on what we're doing. And then there's people that I would have thought for sure we would have heard from, like, oh my God, Glenn, I had no idea, bro. Anything I can, say, I'm here, whatever. Psst, fucking crickets. There is a stigma, man. There's some people, they just do not want to be associated with anybody that has a reputation for being a drug addict, oh God, or an alcoholic or whatever. Oh no, don't fucking mention my name in the same sentence as that motherfucker. Or fucking, alcoholism or addiction or drugs or whatever the fuck. Oh no, I don't want to be talking, whatever. So I could go on and on about that topic, and I have before, and I'm sure I will again. Point I'm making is your recovery will make some people uncomfortable, and everybody's recovery is different. It don't look the same for everybody. There is an old saying in the program. I hear it more in NA than I ever did in AA, because I'm a NA guy, as we often say on this show. I ain't no fucking representative for all you so-called gurus and Nazis that think you run shit. Nobody runs shit, by the way, just in case you didn't know. There are no bosses in any 12-step program. There's, a tradition that says the leaders are but trusted servants. They do not govern. There ain't nobody in charge. Ain't nobody can admit you or kick you out. You are a member when you say you are. And I say openly, I'm a member, man. I recover the fuck out loud, I'll also say I ain't trying to be no representative. It's a part of my recovery. As I often say on this show, man, my program of choice, it's like I had a drug of choice, is Narcotics Anonymous, NA, because I'm an addict. You want to call me an alcoholic? Pfft, go right ahead. Fuck yeah, I got addicted to that shit too. And I know the history of the 12-step programs. Not everybody does. If you don't, do your fucking homework and shut the fuck up till you have. Yeah, I said it. I respect the singleness of purpose in AA that it has, this focus on alcohol. And I go fucking AA meetings. I've gone to them for years. And, I feel right at home, man, like I'm visiting family. I can relate. I respect their singleness purpose. I ain't got to go in there like a bull in a china shop and use mixed language like I'm an addict and I use dope or whatever the fuck just to get attention. Oh, me, look at me and be the rebel and all that other shit. No, I adapt when I go to an AA meeting. Same type of people sharing the same type of shit, same 12 steps. So, you need a meeting and you're an NA person, go to a fucking AA meeting. You're an AA person, you need a meeting, and only one around's an NA, go to a fucking AA meeting. Same goddamn thing. I don't give a fuck, for any of y'all that don't fucking agree with me, do you? But the point I'm making is, y'all, I kind of went on a little tangent there. Yeah, I ain't no representative, but I can damn sure talk about it, I do. I have my program, which is an NA program for me, for this guy. I also have my recovery, which includes a lot more than just any old fucking 12-step program, whether it's NAAA or fucking A. I do a lot of other stuff that are topics of this podcast. I'm into fitness and exercise. Look at that, man. I'm 62 years old in a few weeks, and I'm in the best shape I ever been in my fucking life. Thank God. I have more peace in my life today than I've ever had because I'm practicing the principles in them 12 steps. Some of y'all might not think so, especially because I just got a little fired up there, you know what I mean? But the point I'm making is, these are some of the gifts of working a 12-step program, and my recovery includes a lot of other things. I go to yoga, I eat well now. I go to the gym regularly. I'm into music therapy and all this other stuff. But I wouldn't be able to do any of that stuff if I wasn't living clean and sober and being able to do it as a direct result of, for me, for this guy, detoxing and then attending meetings on a regular basis, building this support system that I have in NA with my long history of NA, old friends and new. All over, not just the country, but other parts of the world. Oh, it's a whole fucking network, y'all. Again, do your homework. Research the programs. If you don't know the history and know about them, do your research, But anyway, so point I'm making, y'all, is yes, your recovery will make some people uncomfortable. And what I started to say was there's a saying around NA. I've heard it in both programs, NAAA, but mostly NA, and that saying is change everything. Think about that for a minute. Change everything. I'm going to show this. I keep this in front of me here, y'all. Look at this. What does that say? Let go of everything. When I got clean this time, I was reading a book right before I got clean that my son G got me. And it's a real popular book. And it had some stuff that, I definitely agreed with, some not so much, some was very subjective. Anyway, it's a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and maybe you've heard of it. If you haven't, yeah, good read. Go check it out. But I wrote some notes from that book while I was reading it that, and I was reading it at a time when I was really trying to kick and was close to where I actually got. And so, yeah, I wrote these notes to myself, let go of everything. And then if you look there, it says, let go of all burdens that are causing depression. Let the sky fall down like a blanket. And then I love this part. Then heal later, if you can see that. Yeah, there you go. And then it says, and then heal later. Man, that was powerful to me at the time. And hopefully it might be helpful to someone who may come across this podcast as is looking to get clean. Because for me, y'all, I was a functioning addict most of those years. And I had built up this ego and this image of myself or who I thought I was supposed to be, that guy. Like, we showed that video of me being the TV guy and, I worked for this very conservative company, the Safety Council. For all them years, people used to, jokingly, call me Safety G, and all that shit. And so for me to come out and do a podcast like this and be so open about my addiction and the struggles I went through, or even take the podcast aside, just go into, rehab to get clean or whatever, those little notes I took from that book I mentioned really had a huge impact on me, because that was a big decision for me. In fact, I had an old friend of mine, Susie. Susie, if you see this, shout out. I posted a picture of me and an old colleague of ours, Dean, Jim Payne from WESH Channel 2. He just retired a few months ago. We talked about him. And showed some photos here on the podcast. Well, I had a picture of him and I from 10 years ago come up in my memories on Facebook, so I posted it. And I put, and we're both retired now. And so a friend of mine, Susie, wrote in the comments like, oh my God, Glenn, how are you retired? And I get it. I've been retired for coming up on 4 years. It'll be 4 years that I retired 4th of July weekend, good Lord willing, and I'm only going to be fucking 62 here on February 11th is my belly button birthday, y'all, a few weeks away. How the fuck did I retire? I'm like, oh my God, I never had an intention of retiring that early. It was during the pandemic, during COVID. It was also during the hell of my addiction to the opiates, y'all. When everybody was locked down during the pandemic and isolating, that's when my shit really got bad, y'all. The only time that I would leave the house for pretty much that whole last year there was to go get more dope, to go to the dope man. And, you could have shit delivered to the house from Amazon, groceries, whatever. And, my son and a buddy, Mark, who we've talked about on the podcast, were living at the house at the time, too. So I didn't really have to fucking leave. All I did was sit around the house and fucking use, man. And so the point I'm making is I was trying to kick, y'all. And when I read that book and them sayings there that I wrote down really hit home with me. They made a difference, man. And so the point I'm making is, I've said on this podcast before, we try to reach all people, park place to park bench or anybody in between, and unfortunately, for most people that I've met in any 12-step program, got to hit a pretty fucking hard rock bottom. And especially in NA, there's a reputation of all these hard-ass motherfuckers all tattooed up, Billy Badass from the hood, ghetto-ass motherfucker used to shoot dope using puddle water behind the dumpster in the hood and all that shit. Oh, God, yeah, believe me, man, motherfuckers do like to play that can you bottom this thing and tell the war stories. Well, I was a real addict, man. We did this. Oh, you wasn't bad as us. We went to prison and all that other shit, Well, guess what, man? It ain't like that for everyone. I never fucking went to prison. I never shot dope, let alone using puddle water behind a dumpster, I wanted to die at the end of my addiction, though. That shit had me so fucking, bad, I felt like I wanted to fucking die. So there's a bond there. It's just this thing, But the point I'm making when I go into that whole thing, man, is there's a lot of people from the professional world that are hooked on that shit. And I think sometimes around the rooms, around the tables, man, we got to remember not everybody comes from the fucking streets that walks into the rooms. And we like to fucking wear that shit on our shoulder like a badge. I'm Billy Bad. We scare some of these motherfuckers right out of there like, oh, fuck, this ain't for me. And we scare them right to their fucking grave, man. I will say, I've said it many times in the show, I'm a huge fan of the 12-step program. I am a NA guy. I've been going to meetings since I was 24 years old, and even before that with my old man and shit, That's a whole nother story, but the point is, You'll never hear me say much bad about the programs, you know. We have our dirty laundry, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more tonight. Like any other fucking group, pick it, you know, a church group, a company, a business, a bar, whatever, football team, you name it. There's always some shit in the game, isn't there? There's always some fucking drama. And it's the same with the 12-step programs. And look at that boy Shebang. He's following along. God, never a dull moment around G. Love you, bro. Well, hey, man, I'm glad you're still riding with us tonight, Shebang. And shout out if anybody's there with you, man. But, you know, the point is, where I was going with that is there are people from the professional world like yours truly that get hooked on that shit, man, and they're looking for a way out and they're looking to get clean. They're looking to save their life, man. And so where I was going with this is these little sayings that I just talked about. Let go of everything. You know, let go of all burdens that are causing depression. Let the sky fall down like a blanket. Is not easy to do. Oh my God, my reputation. What are people gonna think? Holy fuck, my livelihood and all that shit. And you know what? There's a method to my madness here, y'all, and going into this long dissertation and story. When I finally was able to let go of that fucking ego and make that decision to do exactly that and say, you know what? First of all, I'm in no fucking shape to be going to work anymore. You know, yeah, I've had this long ass career, but you know what? It's COVID now. Fuck, business sucks. Everything's changed, blah, blah, blah. I got a shit ton of 401k money. I was blessed, you know. That's a whole nother story. We had one of Dean's boys ask me on the podcast a few weeks ago how much I spent on that shit. Oh, my God, y'all. We're going to talk about it before we finish up these 50 episodes. And not tonight, because that's going to be a long show. But the point is, you know, a lot. You know, and fucking burn through all that fucking money, you know, and thank God my saving grace was I was able to sell my house. I didn't lose my house before I hit rock bottom, and I sold my house without getting into money and too much detail at the height of the craze. I mean, the housing market is fucking you know, way overpriced in my opinion right now. But I've made out like a fucking bandit. I hit the lottery when I sold my house. But the point I'm making is it took a lot to sell that fucking house. Going back to like what I said, change everything. Everything. And like it says, what's causing depression? You know, that fucking house was like holding me hostage, man. You know, it truly was, you know. And I lived there for, 10, 12 years. That job was holding me hostage, and I was miserable there anymore. I fucking hated it. You know, with all respect to the people I work with and the company and everything else, it's what was going on in my head. That shit was killing me, man. And the dope had me all fucked up, too. So the point I'm making is, yeah, man, we get so worried about our image, our reputation, and all that shit, you know. But I'll say this, and I mean this. I look y'all right square in the fucking eyes. I mean this with every ounce of my being. It was the best decision I ever made in my life, retiring. It truly saved my life. I very well may be dead right now had I not done those things that I just talked about. Oh my God, I'm talking with my hands here, and I accidentally bumped my damn phone. I hear myself. I get animated talking with my hands. I got my phone right next to me, y'all, to make sure we're staying live on the platform, and I accidentally bumped it and started hearing myself. Anyway. It did. It saved my life. Had I kept going through that vicious cycle, working real hard to get more money so I could get more dope, getting more dope so I could stay high to go to work, get more money. And it truly became this vicious circle. And man, once I was able to let go of all that, my stress level just went you know. And I was telling one of my sisters a few months back, I will never, ever allow another person to ever hold me hostage again, another job to ever hold me hostage again, another house building to hold me hostage again. I have more freedom in my life now than I've ever had. Even when I was a little kid, because, when I was a teenager or whatever the fuck, I had to report to my parents to be able to live in their house. And, all you get the idea, y'all. It's like I tell people all the time, where I live now, I could pack up and fucking be out of here in one fucking day. One day. I'd got my little personal shit. I loaded in the trunk in the back seat of my car, grabbed my little dog, gone. All that furniture, bill me. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. And that is such a great feeling, y'all. So anyway, I'm kind of getting a little off topic, but the point I'm making is, if you're a person caught in the grips of addiction, man, and that shit's got you by the balls, and you feel like you're in this fucking rock in a hard place, that vicious circle I talked about, like, oh God, I hate this fucking job, but I gotta go to make more money, because if I don't, I won't be able to get more dope, and then I'm gonna get sick, and I gotta do more dope, because if I don't do dope, I won't be able to go to work, because I can't go to work dope sick, and it becomes this fucking cycle. I get it, y'all. If that's you, I get it. Been there, done that, bought the motherfucking t-shirt. It's your life we're talking about here. Fuck your ego. Fuck your reputation. Fuck your bank account. Whatever the fuck. I say it a lot, man. I tell my son this sometimes. I have wasted more time in my life worrying about money. And you know what? I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had food to eat. And I've always had people who, for some fucking reason, love and care about me. And what the fuck else really matters in life? Reputation, image, ego, all that fucking shit. You know what I mean? That's one of the things I even have on my social media, man. We are under no obligation to be the same person we were even 5 fucking minutes ago. And thank God for that. You know what I mean? Because, man, there's that old saying, there's something to be said for structure and stability and all that, but if we stayed the same our whole life, that's pretty fucking boring life, isn't it? God, my life has changed so many times in so many different ways, and, I don't want to sound like no old life philosopher. I know Shebang's probably laughing right now, because I can see you're in the chat room, bro. You put truth, but, he said there's these little Glennisms of things I often say, and that is one I say, man. I ain't trying to be no life philosopher and all that other shit. But I do got a little bit of wisdom, man. Life experiences and things. And that's one thing I've learned is, man, people who are resistant to change are destined to be miserable. I used to be that way. I fucking hated change. Why can't everything just stay the same, But, oh, my God, how boring life would be if nothing fucking changed, man, And we do have to learn to reinvent ourselves in this life. I certainly have, and thank God for it, man. Like I was just saying, I went into kind of a long explanation there, longer than I had planned or intended. Like I said, y'all, this fucking show ain't ever scripted, I got a little guideline, but sometimes I go in all kind of different directions, and it's like, I watched this one podcast, y'all, called Recovery in the Middle Ages. It's a good one. Go check it out sometime. And one of the guys on there, he said, man, people will ask me sometimes about things we talked about on the podcast. And he's like, bro, I don't fucking remember. He goes, when we're doing that thing, it's like a blackout. And I could relate. I literally started laughing out loud because I could totally relate. Sometimes I think, like, damn, did we talk about that? Or what? It's just like I said, y'all, this thing takes on a life of its own sometimes. So I think the whole point of everything I was just talking about, I'm trying to make, is if somebody comes across this podcast who is working in the professional world, don't compare yourself right the fuck out of NA. Shebang, you're still with us, bro. You hear me say it all the time. If I've learned anything in the program, make it your fucking program. Don't you I will never let a motherfucker chase me out of NA ever again, because I let that happen before. It can be clicky. Oh, fucking A, it can be clicky. NAAA, fucking A, it don't matter. Pick one, you know. Oh, yeah, it's clicky. There's egos. There's fucking, you know, Captain Recoveries, as my boy Mark says, and all that other shit. And I say it all the time, man. I tell people all the time when they're new, don't fucking fuck yourself out of meeting some of the coolest and best people you ever meet in your life by judging the whole program by the first meeting you go to. Don't fucking judge the NA or AA or whatever by the first group of people you meet. It's eclectic, y'all. There's no bosses. There's nobody in charge. You're a fucking member when you say you are. And nobody can kick you the fuck out. You know, obviously you got to act civil when you go to meetings and shit. I mean, there's always stuff going on. Girls hitting on the guys, guys hitting on the girls, whatever the fuck. But you know, you got to act civil, but nobody can kick you out. Make it your own, man. Make it your own. Nobody's recovery always looks the same. You know, I say it all the time, man. It's eclectic. You got black, white, Latino, Arabic, Oriental, gay, straight, bi, men, women, young, old, fat, skinny, short, tall, bald, long hair. You fucking pick it. They're there. You know, they are there. And when you went to the dope house or the bar, did you like everybody you were getting loaded with? Of course not. You know, but you sat there and used with them because you had that little thing in common. It's the same thing in the 12-step rooms, man. You know, somebody told me once, Glenn, when you're hearing somebody share in a meeting and you don't like them or you don't care for their personality or you don't like the way they look, don't let your sick thinking sabotage you out of a message they might share that could help you stay clean and alive another day longer. Listen for, as I often say, the golden nugget that I was taught, because there are a lot of people around the rooms, y'all, who maybe you don't like the way they look. Maybe they're that prison guy or that puddle water shooting dope guy, but you're a white shirt and tie wearing guy, and you go in some fucking meeting on the edge of town thinking, oh God, do I even fucking belong here? You know, listen, man, listen, they might have that golden nugget, and vice versa. You know, the rough and tough and hard to bluff motherfucker gonna see this nerdy guy with a white shirt and tie come in like, oh, this motherfucker, he don't know shit. He didn't fucking get high in the hood like I did. Well, you know what? They might have that golden nugget too. So, anyway. Man, I got off on a tangent there a little bit about, but it's true, man. I'm just trying to share a message with someone who may be new, or maybe even somebody who's been around the block in the program, going through some challenges with, you know, some of the drama that goes on in the rooms. You know, fuck that. If there's drama at a meeting, next, go to another one. Start your own, somebody told me once. I did that once too. You know, but anyway, so with all that said, y'all, yes, this is true. Your recovery is going to make some people uncomfortable. And that might be people who ain't in the rooms or recovery, or people who already are. It could make your employers uncomfortable, your wife, your husband, your kid, whatever the fuck. It could make people who've been clean in NA, and especially if you're a relapser like me, and somebody you knew when you were clean, stayed clean, but you didn't, and now you hopefully make it back alive, but you've changed and evolved, and they've changed and evolved in their own way. You're not at the same levels you used to be, maybe. Your recovery is going to make them uncomfortable too. Because there's this old dude, man. I remember this boy, Mike Johnson. If you see this, Mike, we started following each other on social media a while back, man. I'd love to have him on the show. Man, he's got a whole video series, recovery videos out there that I used to make a couple of my sponsees, guys that I was sponsoring, had the honor of sponsoring for a little while. I used to make them watch, man. We used to have these get-togethers on Sunday. But anyway, the point I'm making is this guy, Michael Johnson, he shared this message that I'm paraphrasing now, that for some of us, we come around the program for a certain amount of time, and all of a sudden we get righteous, you know, and the way he said it was, you know, some of these motherfuckers sit around and like, look at him over there acting like that, look at her over acting like that, that behavior is inappropriate for the program, you know, and it's like, what the fuck? The behavior is inappropriate for the program? Did you not remember where the fuck we came from? And sometimes that might be the behavior that attracts other newcomers. You know what I mean? Just like I said about me using colorful language on this show. I know for a fact that I have family members, friends, colleagues, co-workers, whatever the hell you want to call it, who are like, well, that language is inappropriate for the program, meaning the program, the Dare Me podcast. Well, I can't believe he's using that language. Oh, good God. Well, I never. Well, I bet you never did, is the old saying in response to that. Yeah, so, anyway, the point I'm making is, man, Michael J., shout out to you. You're right, man. Some people, and I'm just going to say this, too. Me and my boy Mark Shebang, I think we talked about that, man. I'm just being real honest right now, y'all. This ain't necessarily a nice thing to say, and I certainly don't mean it in an evil way. This is just me being totally open and honest. Some of us will sit around at the meeting, after the meeting, or in the car on the ride, and we'll be talking about some of these what I call Captain Recovery motherfuckers that got so many years clean, and book thumping motherfuckers and think they know it all, that motherfuckers, and we'll be like, God damn, man, that motherfucker been clean too long. He forgot what it's like, and gonna sit up in here and try to talk this shit. Or how about this new thing, man? It ain't so new anymore. When I got clean this time, I started going to some meetings, and these motherfuckers talking about, well, you ain't supposed to be mentioning a specific drug by name. And I thought, oh my God, are you fucking kidding me? NA went and got fucking politically correct on me? When the fuck did that happen? Now, I'm not a fan of that. I don't agree with that. Flat out, I'll just say it, man. Now, I get the purpose behind it. And by the way, that is not in the literature. That's fucking self-will bullshit that some motherfucker came up with at this meeting or that or whatever and brought an entourage to vote for it so that they read it at the beginning and all that other shit. If that's going on at your meeting, you don't like it, you can change it. Bring your own fucking entourage to the business meeting and make your case for why you'd want to change it. My case is this. I get the reason why, because we don't want people going on a drug log or glorifying using and all that other shit. We get that. And people can get triggered. Oh, Jesus Christ, give me a fucking break. Are you kidding me? Just because somebody mentions that, oh, God, man, I'm going through horrible fucking withdrawals, kicking his heroin is kicking my ass. Oh, God, he mentioned heroin. I'm going to go get high. Get the fuck over it. If that is going to trigger you to go get high, you got bigger problems than I think going to a 12-step meeting can help you with. You need serious help, So the point I'm making is, man, yeah, I get the purpose behind it. We don't want people going on and on, giving what they call a drug log, a drink log, all the war stories and all that other shit. But sometimes the newcomers need to hear that shit to help them relate. Like, wow, man, because newcomers like talking about that shit. There's that old saying, newcomers, and even people coming back from relapse like to tell on themselves. Hello, you know what I mean? So let them go, because if we embarrass them in the meeting by calling them out and saying, oh, hey, you're not supposed to talk about drugs in the meeting, you embarrass them right the fuck out, and then they leave and say, fuck them people, I ain't never going back again, and then they go use and get high, and it's laced with fentanyl, and they fucking die. Yeah, it can happen like that, and it has. So, God, man, I get fired up about that shit, man. There's politics in the programs, that's for sure, to be sure. So, anyway, once again, man, I got off on a little tangent, but the point I'm making is your recovery is going to make some people uncomfortable, including if you're back from a relapse, people that are still clean who you knew when you were clean before. And that could be family members. It could be friends, colleagues, co-workers, you pick it. You know what I mean? So just remember, man, yeah, we all have the right to reinvent ourselves. And if somebody else doesn't like it, that's their fucking problem. What other people think of us truly is none of our fucking business when it comes to that shit, And so with all that said, y'all, let me move on a little bit because I got a lot of stuff still that I want to get to. I thought that I'd share this. You know, when I'm putting these shows together, man, I had somebody tell me not long at a meeting long ago, like, oh my God, Glenn, it must be a fucking trip living in your head. And I had to laugh because I thought, man, you're right. There's always a lot going on. I often say there's type A personalities, there's type B personalities. I'm type AAA. I'm like the Energizer Bunny. I'm just going all the time. And so the point I'm making is this came to my mind as I was putting this show together. This is that boy Al Stewart, in case you don't know who that is, that's standing there with me. Al Stewart is a famous, and I do mean huge, superstar around the world. He is the guy that wrote and made the song famous Year of the Cat. That's probably his most known and famous song anywhere in the world. Time Passages, On the Radio, On the Border. Those are probably his four biggest songs. Well, anyway, I got to see him last year. He played a small place here in Sacramento, and I actually got to meet him after the show. And I got to spend about 10 minutes with the man. He was really cool. And you may even remember he did a little bit of a shout out to us on the podcast. And there's a point here, a method to my madness. Dean, can we play that shout out real quick that Al Stewart gave us? And then I'll tell you what I'm talking about him for.
Hi there. I'm here with Glenn Victor. I want you to listen to the Dare Me podcast. You must.
Al Stewart, you rock, brother. Thank you.
I'm Al Stewart.
You rock. Thanks, bro. So, yeah, quick, short, and sweet. Thank you, Dean, for playing that. But, man, that was like truly a thrill to meet him. And, for some of our younger viewers and listeners, my boy Shivang, who I love so much, you may not know who he is, but, he's a legend, man. The dude truly is a legend. He is 78 years old now, almost 79. And so, like I said, I got to spend about 10 minutes with him. We were talking in different things, and I said, oh, my God, bro, man, I can imagine some of the cool people you've met in your life, paraphrasing, and we were talking. And you know why I decided to put him on the show again today and talk about this is because something he said to me applies to everything I've talked about up to this point and what this edition of the show is all about. He said to me, yeah, Glenn, a lot of people have come and gone in my life. He said, at this age, I will tell you that this group of people I play with now that have been with me and riding with me for about the last 7 years, he said, I can't imagine my life without them now. He said, I get together every once in a while with family for holidays, dinners, whatever. He said, and even old colleagues will have lunch sometimes, he said, and it occurs to me like, oh, good God, I have nothing in common with these people. He literally said that to me. He said, so yeah, you're right, man. He goes, different people come and go in your life. And then you meet new people. And he even said, at my age, a lot of the people that I knew in my earlier life are no longer with us. They're gone. They've passed away. So you make new friends. And most of the people in his group are probably around 35, 40-ish, so they're quite a bit younger than him. But the point I'm making, y'all, if you haven't figured it out yet, and I'm sure you have, is that I thought we'd talk about that little golden nugget of wisdom that the legend Al Stewart shared with me that has stuck with me. People do come and go in your life. And that includes people sometimes that you're very close to. Family members, blood family members, friends, co-workers, colleagues, Sometimes people are in our life for a season, and then maybe there's even a falling out of some sort. Maybe you start ghosting people or they start ghosting you. People set boundaries. Man, we had that girl, that life coach, Melissa Dawn, on the program a few weeks ago. She's been on a couple times. Shout out Melissa, by the way, if you see this. Such a great person and such a wise person, too, for her years. And she talked about how people set boundaries. And that sometimes when they do with us, it can be very uncomfortable for us. It can make us depressed. It can make us sad. It can make us angry. Like, how dare that motherfucker shut me down, ghost me, not reply to my shit, whatever the fuck, And I'm so grateful I got to talk with her, not just on the podcast, but even one-on-one. We talked a little bit about how when someone sets boundaries, man, good for them. Good for them. She said, man, I would cheer them on. I would cheer anybody on. You set those healthy boundaries for yourself with whoever or whatever it may be. Do you, boo? Yeah, do you. And if cutting me out of your life is going to make you healthier, happier, and give you more peace, or setting boundaries with yourself like that, yeah, it might make me uncomfortable. As Melissa said, it might make me sad. It might make me depressed. At times, it might make me angry. At times, it might make me resentful, like the topic of today's show. And the word I invented, I thought, resentmentships. Because, yeah, man, we have relationships with people who we like to think we're close with in our life. Could be lifelong family members, friends from childhood, colleagues, like that boy Al Stewart said, people that come and go at different times. People change, just like I've changed. Thank God. And so the point I'm making again, y'all, is to get right back to that slide we showed earlier. Your recovery will make some people uncomfortable. And this fucking podcast right here that we're doing has absolutely made some people uncomfortable that have been a part of my life. And some have clearly set boundaries because of it. And I've, being honest, gone through different emotions over it. Like I said, man, I've heard from people I never thought in a million years I would have heard from. Like, wow, and they've made me feel so good. Like, oh my God, you were paying attention? Oh man, I'm sorry to hear about your family member. If there's something I can do to help, let me know. And we have, people who've just, complimented us on what we're doing or whatever that I never thought in a million years we would have heard from. New friends that we've made. Yet, long-time friends, colleagues, or whatever have chosen to cut off communication or just not reached out at all, which is fine. We can, respect that. So anyway, with all that said, y'all, I want to show this because someone, and it's ironic, I think about it, the person I captured this from that posted this and the connection here, but I won't go into that. Dean, you may remember, Dean's not at his mic right now. There he is. Okay. I'm sorry, Dean. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. You may remember a while back I was talking on one of the podcasts and I said there's that scene from the movie Scarface, where he's sitting there in the room with Mel, the detective, and Mel says he just shot the guy that he had been dealing dope for, and Mel's sitting there, and he goes, "Don't go too far, Tony." And then Tony shoots him. Well, that crops into my mind every once in a while when I do this show, like, okay, Glenn, don't go too far. And I made a promise when I started this podcast that although I would talk openly about different things and whatnot going on in my life, that I wasn't ever going to throw anybody personally under the bus or by name. things to that nature. Now, we've gotten into some news stories and not too much politics, but shit like that once in a while, but nobody in my personal life. I've certainly told some people to fuck off on this show without mentioning their name, and believe me, if they were watching and reading between the lines, they know it. Kind of sort of did it this week with some of those promo reels I was posting. For anybody who was reading between the lines, man, it's like, oh, what's going on with Glenn? He's got a hair up his ass, or who pissed him off, or what's he got a beef with, or who's he got a beef with, whatever. That's where I'm going with what we're about to talk about right now. Someone close to me that I follow on social media posted this, and I thought, oh my God, how fucking ironic is that? And as you can see, it says, if someone ghosts you, respect the dead and never disturb them again. Oh, and hey, I got to take a moment to send a shout out to that boy G Money watching live from Hawaii. We got G live in the chat room. So, man, we truly are nationwide. Look at that. We got Dean live in Orlando. You got Shebang live from Detroit, Michigan. You got yours truly live from Sacramento, California. And we got G Money live from Honolulu, Hawaii, all joined in on the podcast live at the same time. I see we've got several people in the viewing room as well. And whoever may be listening and not watching, shout out to you. And, of course, anybody who ever comes across the recorded version of the podcast. So welcome aboard, G. And I look forward to having you on the show again soon. And I teased a little bit earlier that we got some big news. We ain't letting the cat out of the bag on yet, but big news coming up here, hopefully within the next few weeks, about G Money. So anyway, y'all, back to the matter at hand. If someone ghosts you, respect the dead and never disturb them again. And G, it's interesting that you jumped on at the time you did, because I'm actually about to talk about some communication we had this past week. And when I saw this post, it really kind of blew my mind. And I had to, I'll just say it, y'all, I had to apologize to my own son. We were communicating about, some really fun and exciting things he had been sharing with me. And we had pretty much wrapped up our communication. And then a few minutes later, and G, again, I know you won't mind me sharing this, no names, sent me a message saying, hey, oh, by the way, I heard from so-and-so, and I just want to let you know. And I had this instinctive reply. It was a knee-jerk, y'all. I truly knee-jerked. I did not let it process and, do the proverbial walk around the block or anything. And I replied, fuck that guy, dead to me. What the fuck? What? Where did that come from? And man, that just goes to show y'all, I realized the more I thought about it, I got some fucking anger issues going on here. I have a resentment. What this show is all about today. The topic of resentments and relationships. Because this person I'm referring to is someone that, I have a relationship with, that I have most of my life, And right now it's not good. And so, it made me think too that, because, as you recall, G, I sent my boy G a follow-up message the next morning, and I apologized. I said, I owe you an apology, man. I was out of line. I acted out of anger because of the strained relationship I have with a person right now that you love and have a relationship with and care about and respect, that is different than where mine is right now. And I disrespected your relationship by sharing what I did. And man, it gets so fucked up when you start peeling the layers away. And by the way, for anybody really paying attention, I'm the only one. I'm the only one that's had issues like this in relationships, right? Whether it's family, friends, coworkers, colleagues, whatever the fuck. Yeah, I know I ain't the only one. So, I mean, I could start naming people, but like I said, I ain't going to do that. So the point I'm making is, man, god damn, that, it got to me more, not so much because I was feeling bad that I said something like that about a person that probably hurt my son's feelings because I said something negative, that nasty, like fuck that guy, he's dead to me, that he loves. And not necessarily even because I felt bad saying that about that person, but I felt bad like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on with me that I'm allowing just some little communication like that to fuck with my peace to the point where I would send a fucking angry ass text like that, quite frankly, let's face it, y'all, was out of line. It was out of line. And so I just tell that little story because it really made me think about some of the things I've learned in the program of NAAA 12-step, pick whatever the hell you want. And there's that old saying, man, you can read shit till the cows come home, go to as many fucking meetings as you want to and events and all that shit, but if you ain't working the steps, if you ain't incorporating that shit into your life, if you're not living it, man, then you're wasting your fucking time. I've said it on this podcast before. We talked about it at a meeting just the other night. There's an old saying around the rooms, around the 12-step rooms, any old asshole can stay clean. Do you got to work the steps to stay clean? No, you don't have to. I can even account for that. There's been times in my life where I wasn't working no fucking steps, man. I just detoxed and was living clean. And as that saying goes, yeah, any old asshole can get and stay clean without working the steps, but that's just it. They're usually a fucking asshole. And that's how I felt. I felt like I was being an asshole. Oh my God, who sends a text like that to their own son about someone they know and love just because I got issues, because I got beef, because I got whatever, issues with someone setting boundaries with me, whether it's over this podcast or any other goddamn thing. You know what I mean? And so the point I'm making is, y'all, it really made me think to myself, damn, gee, because, yeah, I talk to myself that way sometimes. Like, I need to take a look at that, man. The fuck am I letting another person affect my peace that way? As I've said on this podcast, I said it tonight, that I will never let another person hold me hostage again. Yet, I send a text like that. That's me allowing, as the old saying goes, another person to occupy space in my mind rent-free. Because that motherfucker probably ain't even thinking about me that way. Like, whatever, I just don't, I got to keep that motherfucker at arm's length. Let him do him, you know what I mean? Whatever. Hey, it is what it is, But man, did I lash out real quick. So that's when I decided, from week to week, man, I never know for sure what we're going to talk about on this podcast, what the topic's going to be, if we're going to have a guest or not, or whatever the fuck. And like I said at the beginning of the show, what's going on, Dean? I'm losing you here. Yeah, I don't know what happened.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Whoa. We lost everything, bro. I lost the slides.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Put it back.
Okay, I'm
my
just making
my browser
sure.
crashed and you're still going.
Okay. All right. So, anyways, yeah. It made me think to myself, okay, yep, here, we'll pull them back down and get back up to the one I was at. It made me think to myself, y'all, there we go, that if someone ghosted me, setting boundaries with me, got me to the point where I was, reacting in that way, it made me think to myself, okay, I really need to apply some of the things I've learned around the 12-step programs about resentments. And not to mention some of the other things I've learned having to do with the literature and the steps and everything else, and obviously this post right here, y'all, is coming at it from almost like a negative way, like, hey, if that motherfucker want to ghost me, fuck him. Like I said, that dead to me, that's kind of what this thing's alluding to. So it is what it is. If someone ghosts you, respect the dead. Like, but I don't want to feel that way, man. I get it. This is a catchy meme or post or whatever, like, fuck that guy and all that other stuff. But that's not how I want to be in my life. I've said it on here many times, man. Yeah, you got to mind your P's and Q's, and I definitely got that ghetto side to me, but I try to love everybody, man. Do you. Long as you ain't hurting me or anybody else, do fucking you. I don't give a fuck. Do you. This saying here, though, it definitely is kind of coming at it from a negative sense. I like the way that girl Melissa I mentioned approached it better. If someone is setting boundaries, yeah, that might be hurtful to me. It might be sad to me, might be depressing to me. Wow, I wish that person didn't have to set such a, boundary with me, whatever. But do you. Good for you. And especially with a guy like me, I know I'm a lot to take, y'all. I might be crazy, like I sometimes say, but I ain't stupid. Like I've said, I'm not a type A or type B personality. I'm a type AAA. I'm like the Energizer Bunny, man. I was sharing this the other night. I've been married not once, not twice. And I thought to myself, yeah, I might be crazy, but God bless my two ex-wives. I'm friends with both of them. Shout out to y'all. But I think, man, if I'm that fucking crazy, how crazy they have to be with my crazy ass, or any other relationship I've been in. Not to pick on them two, but the point I'm making is, y'all, I get it. I'm a lot to take. And if somebody has to set boundaries with me for whatever reason, man, because I'm high strung, because of the language I use, because I've chosen to recover out loud, because I have disclosed things about myself, even like putting them damn pictures of me out there of when I was using, when I had a blackout and woke up and my face was all fucked up and I didn't even know what happened to me. Yeah, somebody told me, oh, you don't want to show them to nobody. Well, you know what? Dare me. And I did. And I'm glad I did. And I've gotten feedback about that it's helped people. So if my misfortune can help another person, but it makes somebody else uncomfortable to the point where they got to set boundaries with me, so be it, man. So be it. Do you, boo. So anyway, y'all, I kind of went on and on about that, but let me talk about this, because this is another resentment, I kind of went on about that one there, and gee, God bless you, man. Thank you for being such a great friend and understanding son to me, man. I'm so blessed that way. Here's another one. Who don't cop resentments about social media bullshit, We all do. I really believe that, man. And this one I thought was funny as hell. There's that Kevin Hart comedy bit where he says, hey, they wasn't ready. And somebody made a meme out of it. When someone sends you a friend request and then unfriends you on the same day, they wasn't ready. Or if somebody may have seen it, there's a follow-up to this, because they was not prepared for the coming attractions. It's like we all see people you may know, like on Facebook or Insta or whatever, and it's like, yeah, I know that motherfucker, that's why I ain't friends with him on here or whatever. But or we reconnect with old people. Sometimes people will connect with us on social media, and then because of something we post or say or doing a podcast like this, like, oh my God, I can't be associated with that motherfucker. Or, political season's coming, y'all. It's already starting. I'm already seeing the Trumpsters and the Biden people and the whole fucking thing. And I'm like, oh God. I remember last time around, man, seeing people post shit, and I'm like, God damn, I've known that motherfucker half my life. I never knew he felt like that, man. And so it's like, ooh, man, yeah, I know everybody, that old saying, stand for something or you'll fall for anything. I'll just say, man, sometimes on social media, people put these opinions out there, and then you alienate people. You alienate lifelong friends, family members. But again, do you? I know I try not to on this podcast, but certainly I've alienated people because this podcast ain't for everybody, man. And people do judge you based on your social media posts or running your mouth like I do every week on this fucking podcast. People judge the fuck out of me. I know it. And I know there's people who've shut me out. And that's fine. Do you, boo? Like I keep saying, but this is one that, yeah, it's like somebody will send me a friend request and I'll friend request them. And then, a few days later, I'm like, there they are, and the people who may know me again. How did that happen? Because they unfriended me, or somebody just flat out blocks you, over some stupid, silly shit. And man, I got to find this one video. Y'all are going to get a kick out of that. Okay, so check this out. When somebody, and this certainly has been the case in my life when it comes to social media or even just me being me, in some of the things I've posted online, I've had people completely block me and shut me down. I've had people even tell me why. And here's my response to that. Maybe you can...
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
One more time, y'all. Let's do it one more time.
You can't handle the truth. 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 You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, I played it 7 or 8 times because, man, I'll tell you, it's hard sometimes not to cop a resentment over shit like that, man, because there are people, we all know them, they live in some fucking fantasy world and they can't handle the truth, man. They want to act like something ain't the way it is, or pretend that certain things didn't happen the way they did, and just can't handle the truth. And if that means that they got to completely block you out of their life to live in their little fantasy world, then so be it. I found that at one point in time, it was definitely causing me a resentment. Like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, there's one situation. Ooh, boy, oh boy, there's a situation again where I'm thinking, man, don't go too far, Glenn. Where sometimes you cop resentment towards people who, there may have been things that happened in your life as a child, and you reconnect with them on social media, or maybe someone who took something from you that can never be replaced, and then want to act like it didn't happen and block you on social media because
you can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, one more time, y'all. There you go. So, yeah, do I still have resentments? They creep up once in a while. Did you sense my little tone of anger in what I just showed? Yeah, man, it's part of, I think, just being a human being for all of us, man. We get resentments about things, whether someone's setting boundaries with us, ghosting us, someone lives in a fantasy world, maybe is just an outright narcissist. Yeah, I had a few of them in my life. Passive aggressive behavior, all that shit, A lot of people that we come across in our life are dealing with a lot of shit, man. People put up a big front sometimes and like to act like they're the rock and the stable one in the family or the circle or the whatever. Man, everybody's got shit. Everybody's got some fucked up shit going on in their life, and if people want to live in a fucking fantasy world, then that's their prerogative. Do you, boo? as we say. So anyway, man, I'm trying so hard not to cop attitude. So yeah, when someone were to send you a friend request and unfriend you on the same day or unfriend you ever at all, they just wasn't ready. And and when they saw the coming attractions, and so I thought this was funny. There's always someone looking at your posts like this, like this old bitter ass fucking Karen bitch, you know. Or Ken, not to make gender differences, put a Ken in there. So yeah, man, you know, people are bitter sometimes, you know, and like I said, man, I don't want to be that way. I just don't. That's why, like, when my boy G sent me that text the other day, the way I responded would be just like this bitch right here. That's how I felt. And I don't ever want to be like that. You know, like that post I showed. If somebody's ghosting you, leave the dead alone. Let them, no, man. Hey, I wish that person peace, you know. That's how I want to be. And so, anyway, I thought this was funny. Today on Facebook, we can expect a few selfies in the upper uglies, mild to moderate haters, and an 85% chance of someone getting butt hurt. And boy, oh boy, man, yeah. Uh, it's just funny, y'all. Some of the stuff I come across. So, yeah, man, people are going to cop resentments about the stuff we post on social media and set boundaries, unfriend us, whatever the fuck. And we're going to get resentments and bitterness and whatnot sometimes, too. So, I also wanted to share this. You might be thinking, well, what the fuck does this have to do with resentments and everything you just talked about? I just thought I'd share this because I have had some people share bitterness with me. I get bombarded, y'all. It goes in waves, sometimes more than others, where I get all these messages, man, DMs, comments on social media, text messages, voicemails. I don't always reply to them all. I can't. I can't keep up with it. I don't know how to fuck some of these, like, really, you know, big celebs or whatever. They got to have publicists or some fucking shit. I don't know. And I've had a couple of people reply to me like, God, you could have at least got back to me, man. Wow, that was disrespectful. Hey, man, it wasn't personal. It wasn't disrespectful at all. I just thought I'd show this. Man, I got fucking 21,000 plus people watching, tuning into this podcast sometimes. You know, not live. Mostly it's all the recorded version, but then we get messages and shit, and it's like, I can't keep up with it all, man. I can't keep up with it. It's so stressful, you know. So the point I'm making is, you know, if you ever send me a message or whatever, and I will get back to you, don't take it personal. Don't cop a resentment toward me. We got a lot of people watching this damn thing, you know. So anyway, I thought I'd talk about this, and then we're going to get into some practical ideas and solutions about how, if we want to, we can try to work on them resentments. So, y'all know I'm a big NA fan, a big NA guy, and man, you know, shebang, if you're still watching, man, I copped an attitude towards some of the NA politics this past week, because this is a flyer all about the upcoming World Convention of NA. I've talked about it on this podcast many times. It's coming up Labor Day weekend. This is the flyer. They just released it here within the last week or whatever it's been, you know, registration, hotels, and all that. Well, some people are really upset, man, because it ain't cheap, you know, and it's not cheap, you know. It costs a lot of money to put these things on. But I will say, I've never seen a convention charge this much for registration. It's $175 just to register. Not to mention all this other stuff they got going on, you know, blues shows, jazz brunches, concert, whatever, merchandise, all that. Not to mention hotels and shit. Well, some smartass, and I'm just putting him out there because he put this on social media, so I don't give a fuck. His name's Edmund Anthony the Fourth. Shout out Edmund. He's part of this group I belong to. You see the WCNA 38 Facebook page. And he wrote, because all these people all week been putting it out there. Oh, me, look at me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I get it, man. I'm registered and flight booked, hotel booked for the convention. Ooh, 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 me. Look at me. I'm going to the convention, the World Convention, It's like, I start getting attitude like, God damn, motherfucker, big fucking deal. You're going to the convention, And then this smart ass posted, what happened to all the people that booked ahead on their own? No more comments from them? Because everybody who had been booking since they came out with the registration were posting all this shit. Well, guess what? I booked my hotel ahead of time because I knew the convention was in D.C. and was going to be at the convention center. So I booked my motherfucking room at the Marriott right across the street months ago. And guess what? That is considered to be like the main hotel. There's about 20 of them in the area that they're part of the whole discounted rate or whatever. But fucking A, bro. I registered ahead of time, or reserved my hotel ahead of time, and I might register, I might not. And if I do, I'll fucking do it when I get there. Ain't no rule that says you got to do it ahead of time. I mean, I get it. They're trying to raise revenue for the convention and all that, but that's a lot of fucking money for some people. And I was glad to see this girl, Dawn Irene, posted this on there. She said, she replied, there were other people like, dude, what's the purpose of this post? Why would you even post something like that? Why are you trying to stir up some shit? And this girl, Dawn Irene, posted, people who booked early were very smart to do so. Hello, thank you, Irene, or Dawn Irene, because it's outrageous now and unreachable for people on fixed income or the newcomer, and registration, as she calls it, is beyond ridiculous. $175 is a lot, y'all. Please don't come at me about the expense and economy. And then she wrote in all caps, there's no justifying outrageous registration cost. Yes, I can definitely afford to go, yet choosing not to. She's not going. She said her first World in 2018 in Orlando was amazing, affordable, and a great experience. So anyway, y'all, I don't mean to be airing our dirty NA laundry on this podcast, but it is what it is, man. Let's face it. People put this shit all out there on social media. Ain't like I'm sharing no big secret. It's out there for anybody else to see on the internet, The reason that I wanted to bring it up is because we are talking today on this podcast about resentments and different types of resentments that creep into our life, whether it's, a relationship that's, on the frizz, whether it's, the social media posts, the politics, the people unfriending you, whatever the fuck. Somebody cut you off in traffic, you name it, But for me, because I am such a big NA and 12-step guy, man, reading this stuff, I started to get fired up with a resentment too. Like, yeah, motherfuckers charging so much. Yeah, maybe I won't go either. Fuck all that. And who's this fucking guy making fun of people that, booked ahead of time? And then Dawn saying, yeah, we were smart to do so. And I'm just like, in my mind, I'm getting caught up in all this back and forth. And I thought, oh my God, what am I doing to myself, man? I'm getting myself all worked up and copping a resentment over somebody else's shit. This ain't got nothing to do with me. I booked my hotel months ago. I got my little room there right across from the convention center. I'll be there. I often say, man, sometimes for conventions, I just love being around all the people. I can sit in the fucking hotel lobby and vibe and bump into old friends, meet new friends, Yeah, I like going to the main speaker meetings and that, but, fucking dances. I'm too old for that shit, man. It's like I go in them rooms, I'm 10 minutes out loud music, I'm over it, And, the jazz brunch, fuck all that for me, man. It's like, nah, you got a ton of people, you got shitty-ass food that's fucking rubber chicken shit and all that other stuff, so I don't mean to be negative. More power to you if you're going to all that, It's just that I've been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. That stuff's not important to me so much anymore. If they have a big name concert, which they haven't announced yet, I've seen Eric Clapton at an NA World before. I've seen ZZ Top. I've seen B.B. King. I can go on and on. That I'd like to do, but they haven't announced who it's going to be yet. It might be somebody I don't give a fuck about seeing. You know what I mean? So point I'm making is I'll be there. I will be there. And D.C., by the way, is a city everybody should see once. Certainly every American should see at least once. Go to Arlington and shit. Yeah, man, it's powerful. So, anyways, though, I'm just saying, man, if you're a program person and you plan on going to the world and all that, let's not turn what is such a beautiful experience, because it truly is, man. It's like life-changing stuff that goes on at these conventions. It's so powerful, yet we got this tit for tat resentment causing bullshit going on. And the fucking event hasn't even started yet. Yeah, it's expensive, man. It ain't cheap. Nothing's cheap anymore. You know what I mean? But you don't have to register to be able to enjoy this event. Like I said, go there and fucking hang out in the lobby of the hotels. Go there and hang out in the halls of the convention center. Yeah, obviously you got to have a place to crash. You can't just crash in the hotels, but that's a given anyways. You know what I mean? Get you an Airbnb. Go on the cheap that way. Whatever the fuck, You don't have to pay for all this stuff at the convention to be able to go. Now, some of them convention people and the service gurus might not like me saying that because they need money. It costs a lot of money to put these events on. But not everybody's got that kind of fucking money, especially newcomers like the girl Dawn Irene pointed out. So I'm just saying, man, if you're a person, especially that, maybe is new to recovery, or somebody who's been around the block like me, and you don't want to spend that kind of fucking money, even if you got it, you can still go and have a good time. One thing I'll share, and then we'll move on, that I've learned about conventions, man, because I've been to a lot of them, worlds too. I mean, like probably 20 of them now, is I learned that two things: don't compare. When I compare it to previous ones, or this one or that one or that one, I mind fucked myself. In fact, I already saw people posting, and what, there's no banquet? What the fuck, man? Why ain't gonna have no banquet? Well, fucking the World Convention is huge. This ain't like going to, a regional or city convention where it's manageable and they can have a banquet for people, there's going to be thousands and thousands of people here, man. It'd be a hell of a thing to pull off, and it'd be a big fucking headache. So you form your own little circles and go out to eat or whatever, but even that can be stressful, because then you're trying to get back in time for the speaker and all that shit. See, I don't even like doing that shit no more, man. I like going dolo. Give me a fucking slice and I'll eat it in the lobby next. I like sitting down for a meal with friends and family too, at these events. But when you're trying to pack it in and have this special meal before the main speaker and the countdown and all that, it's fucking too stressful, man, because everybody else is trying to do the same fucking thing, and then service is slow. Oh, God, my fucking chicken is cold, sending it back, and all that other shit. And now you're stressed and trying to get to the room, and one person's got to smoke, and this person wants to pee, and all that other shit. Fuck all that, man. Do you. That's my suggestion, Do you. And don't let, trying to have a meal with some friends on the night of the main speaker of the banquet, put a damper on your convention. Fucking get you something on the fly and have a nice meal with them earlier in the day or the afternoon or a breakfast or whatever. So, yeah, those are just some tips that I've learned by going to these events. But at the end of the day, man, part of the reason I want to bring this up is I found for me, here, been around the block, all this, so-called peace and knowledge and wisdom and practice I put into play, I'm still letting something like this cause a resentment in my mind. So, yeah, man, I can get resentments over some of the stupid, silly shit that gets posted online. So, with all that said, let's transition into talking about, like I said, man, some of the practical ideas that, I've learned around the rooms for trying to combat resentments and have peace in my life. And here's the answer right here, y'all. Anybody who's a real one in the 12-step programs will tell you this all day, every day. Like I said earlier in the program, can somebody stay clean without working the steps? Hell yeah, they do it all the time. They're usually assholes, but you can do it. If you truly want to have some peace in your life, truly change your personality so you're not this bitter Karen or Ken or angry person or resentful person or depressed person or whatever, you start applying and working these steps, man, it don't happen overnight. Like I often say on this podcast, you don't walk in the rooms of NA or AA and they don't sprinkle no fucking pixie dust on you and everything's okay and you're bright and cheery, happy, joyous, and free. Fuck, I wish it was that easy, and I know a hell of a lot of others do too. No, it takes work and it takes time. Time takes time. And there's, part of the readings that are done at the beginning of all the meetings is after they read all these steps and shit, they say, this sounds like a big order and we can't do it all at once. And that's true. We can't do it all at once. It takes time. And so I just thought we'd show this, y'all, for anybody who may be new to the 12-step programs, comes across this podcast trying to kick, trying to get clean, trying to decide if going to an NA or AA meeting might even be right for them. What's this 12-step shit all about? What the fuck? What does it mean to work the steps, Well, here's the steps, man. Here they are. And, I'm just going to go ahead and read them. What the fuck, So this is from the NA. These are read at every single NA meeting you will ever go to. And they're read at AA meetings as well. These are from the NA program. And this is it's like a handout. And it's called How It Works. And it says, if you want what we have to offer and are willing to make the effort to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. These are the principles that made our recovery possible. And by the way, after I read these, y'all, we're going to read these. These are humorous takes on the 12 steps, kind of an analogy of them. But let me read the actual steps first. So anyway, 1, we admitted we were powerless over our addiction and that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, we made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. Oh, God, there's that word God. For all the people scared of that. Believe me, man, ain't nobody going to run up on you with a Bible or try to fucking, pray over you in a meeting or whatever. It ain't like that, man. It is not like that. It's not a religious program. It's not a cult. We've heard all that kind of shit about the programs and all that. It ain't like that, man. That's fucking either people with a resentment toward NA or AA because somebody said something they didn't like or some girl didn't take their advance or guy or whatever the fuck. So now all of a sudden they judge the whole program and all that, and say things that aren't true. And people have said, I've heard many times about, oh, God, it's just a cult, and oh, God, it's a religious. No, it's not. It's just you do you, man, and it's up to you to decide what kind of God or higher power, if any, you want to have in your life, man. Not everybody even does. We had that guest, Steve Lawrence, that boy, shout out Steve on the program, who is a self-proclaimed atheist. He's still staying clean. Just celebrated 10 fucking years clean and has a program. So, yeah, I don't mean to go off on that. So, 4, we made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, we admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we were entirely ready to have God remove all the defects of character. 7, we humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. So, let's talk about that for a minute. Defects, character, shortcomings, it's all the same shit. If you've read the history, they're the same thing. Bill Wilson, who wrote these steps, said that. He just wanted to use different wording. You got some of these fucking, psychoanalysts who try to say one is different than the other. Whatever. Do you, boo. I know what Bill said and what I read. Okay, so anyway, when we talk about resentments, certainly, I don't think anybody in their right mind can deny that these are defects of human character. These are shortcomings we have as human beings. We get angry. We cop a resentment that fucks with our peace. Like, there's that old saying about resentments. It's like swallowing poison and expecting it to harm the other person. What the fuck? Yeah, because it fucks with our peace. When we cop a resentment, the other person probably doesn't even know. So anyway, those 2 steps are important, man. And then, we made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. We made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. We continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, we sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, not as anybody fucking else tried to tell us. You know, you make up your own mind, whatever your concept of that might be. Praying only for knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. And then 12, as it says, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to addicts and practice these principles in all our affairs. You know, that's, people will often say doing a 12-step call. Fuck, I think of it like with this podcast. This is me working step 12. I'm doing a podcast, you know, all about addiction and recovery, trying to help people. That's me doing a 12-step call in my own way, working step 12. So anyway, I mean to bore y'all to death by reading them, but I thought it was important to read them as we transition into this funny way of doing them. Russell Brand, the comedian, he did a take on these too, but this is pretty good, and it's pretty fucking accurate too. So you take them 12 steps I just read to you, and now here's the conversion. The 12 fucking steps. Grateful addicts in recovery. Step 1, I'm fucked. Yeah, you got to admit that before you're ready to get clean. Step 2, there might be a way out of this fucking mess. You know, some of the things we talked about tonight. Step 3, decide to level the fuck up, okay? You know, level up, man. Step 4, take a good look at how fucked up I am. This is fucking hilarious to me. Step 5, tell someone else about all the fucked up stuff I've been through. You know, like I said, man, a lot of times people get clean and they need to tell on themselves with somebody, you know. Step 6, prepare to stop being such a fuck up. Step 7, try to stop acting so fucked up. Step 8, make a list of everyone you fucked over. Step 9, swallow your fucking pride and tell them I really fucked up. Except when doing so would fuck them harder. Step 10, keep an eye on my fucked up thinking and behavior. Step 11, chill the fuck out sometimes. And step 12, help the next poor fucker that walks in. So I'm sorry, y'all. I crack myself up sometimes. I just thought that was hilarious. So anyway, the whole kind of meat and potatoes of tonight's show is all about resentments, resentmentships, relationships. And what can we do to get through those negative feelings of resentment that all human beings go through at some point or another, whether you're a fucking drug addict or not, whether you're an alcoholic or not, just everyday people got bitter as a motherfucker, man, resentful as shit. Life fucked me, you know, or whatever. We've all met the Karens and the Kens out there, right? You know, or maybe we've been one our own damn self, you know. So how do we get through all that? Well, we often say in the 12-step programs, God damn, man, we're lucky we got the 12 steps. The people that ain't in the programs, or the normies, as we call them, if you're a normie watching this, God bless you, don't have the 12-step programs. Well, guess what? You can work them too. You don't have to be a fucking addict or an alcoholic to try to apply these principles in your life that could hopefully help bring you peace when it comes to things like resentments. And anyway, this is just a humorous way of, you know, explaining the steps, but it's actually quite accurate, you know. So anyway, let's do a little bit more of a deep dive into the recovery process. See, now we're kind of getting into the meat and potatoes of some of the practical ideas, 2.5 hours into the podcast, that we can try to apply when it comes to resentments and stuff. So I pulled a couple screenshots from the internet. There's a shit ton of stuff out there, y'all. But, and I've got some even myself from my trips to rehab and treatment and being involved in NA and AA. But I thought this was a good screenshot. And believe me, if you go online and just Google, step 4 inventory, resentments, AA, NA, explanation of these types, you'll find a world of information. But there's a shit ton of workbooks out there, worksheets. There's Hazelden stuff, Betty Ford Center stuff, AA stuff, NA stuff, books, all kind. You can read so much about it. Back in the day, there wasn't as much literature as there is now, but you get the idea, man. If you're going to try to work some steps, I'm not going to go through the steps with you on this program. I'm just not going to do that. But I thought we would talk about this a little bit because you can see one of the lists when you're doing a step 4 inventory is resentments. There it is right there at first page. And then next to that, it says review of fears, relationships, and strengths and stuff like that. So, yeah, man, putting them down in writing. And it's not always just people, y'all. It can be institutions and things to that nature. Just another screenshot, of a journal, workbook that's out there that, if you're really going through it, man, dealing with resentment, struggling with your peace and all, these are tools that are out there and available to you. You can order them from freaking Amazon, have them delivered right to your own front door. Do your research, man. So, yeah. Anyway, I pulled this as well. We talked about this. AA recognizes that resentment is toxic to our inner lives. The case is plainly stated in the big book. Here's a quote. Resentment is the number 1 offender. Not number 2, not number 3, the number 1. Above all, number 1 offender. What does that mean? It destroys more alcoholics, addicts than anything else. And that could be using or clean and sober. Clean, sober, whatever the fuck you want to call it if you get caught up in all that Lango politics bullshit. If you know, you know. But at the end of the day, resentment can fuck a person up whether they're drinking, using dope, or not. It's the number 1 offender and destroys more people, I think, not just alcoholics or addicts, than anything else. And as it says, a person mired in resentment has scant chances of recovering from addiction. Think about that. And that is a word used in the AA book, by the way, addiction there. Because they recognize, they have a singleness of purpose on alcohol, but they recognize it's an addiction. So for all you AA old-timer gurus that don't think of alcoholism as an addiction, read your own fucking book. Yeah, I said it. So there you go, man. It's like, God damn, this is powerful shit. This tells me that if I don't work on my resentments that I have that creep up in my life from time to time, even fucking during this podcast, just talking about some of the shit I did, if you were paying attention, you could tell I was getting fired up just talking about it, man. I got to put something on that and not the dope or the booze. This is what I had to put on it and practice them steps we were just talking about. Talk with other people I've met in the program whose opinion I respect, that I know have some wisdom, been around the block a little bit. If you got resentments, we got something for that, man. We do in the programs. We got something for that. And it ain't dope. It ain't booze. We got the steps. We got the relationships. We got the information. And so, as it says here, where in the big book does it say resentment is the number 1 offender? And by the way, if you ain't got an AA big book, even if you're an NA person, get one, read it, educate yourself and family members. There's big incentive for you to read it too, to help understand your addict, your alcoholic, employers, friends, whatever. Anyway, it says anger first comes on in a flash of bright fire, and if left to develop over time, fades into a seething, volatile substance. Volatile. I like that word. That's a powerful word, volatile substance. Oh, man, I've had it happen to me. Still can creep up from time to time, being honest. It is called resentment. The quote unquote number one offender, according to, and here's the answer to the question, page 46 of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. That's where you can find it. So, what page is the resentment prayer on in the big book? Because, like I said, we got something for that. There's a fucking prayer. On page 552 of the big book, and in effect it says, if you have a resentment and you want to be free of it, if you will pray for the person or thing that you resent, you will be free. Let's read that again. In effect, if you have a resentment that you want to be free of, pray for the person or the thing that you resent, and you will be free of it. And that does not mean, by the way, a little humor, to pray that they get hit by a fucking train. Okay, I've heard that said before. I didn't come up with that, but it's a little humor. Yeah, don't pray they get hit by a train. Sincerely, from the heart, pray for that person. I've done it, y'all, and guess what? It ain't easy, especially when you really don't like somebody. Because let's face it, we're all allowed to dislike people. We're not going to like everybody in our life, and everybody damn sure ain't going to like us. Some people we're going to despise, and other people are going to despise us for whatever reasons, okay? And be that as it may, if it's causing anger and fucks with your peace, that's when we need to do something about it. And sincerely, from the heart, praying for that person can make a difference. And this is important too. Oh, how I love this, because it's almost like a touche. I hate to say it that way, but it's true. So we ask God to help us show the same tolerance, pity, and patience that we would cheerfully grant a sick friend. So now it almost takes the edge off of praying for that person we got an attitude towards a little bit, because now we can say, oh, that motherfucker's sick as hell. And it's actually quite accurate. It's quite true. I was talking with an old friend of mine in Denver not long ago, and we were talking about somebody that I have a little resentment toward, and the whole ghosting thing we were talking about. And as our discussion went on, I remembered something he taught me a long time ago. Like I said, man, there's a lot of people in the program who don't work steps. They're clean, but they ain't working no steps. They ain't never worked no steps, or they haven't in forever. And they're fucking assholes. If you ain't actively working on this stuff, the steps, the literature, trying to apply these principles into your life, you're usually a fucking asshole. And my level of assholeness, if that's a word, is directly related to how much I'm actively working on trying to apply these things into my life, like practicing meditation, doing a daily inventory of myself, like, okay, did I act right today, or man, do I need to make some amends to some people that I might have spoke to inappropriately, like I talked about with my son. At the end of that day, I did a personal inventory, and I thought to myself, God damn, man, here my son was having a great day, and what do? Go put a fucking damper on it because of my fucking resentment over some stupid, silly shit that has nothing to do with him. And I had to go back and make an amends to that. And gee, if you're still watching or you see this later, bro, I meant that sincerely from the heart. I apologize. I was out of line, like I said. That's my shit. That ain't your shit. And so anyway, y'all, yeah, man, people who, have resentments toward us, or maybe did something or haven't done something, in the case of ghosting someone, are going through their own shit. I was told a long time ago, man, oh God, I would love to go into the story, but we ain't going to be able to tonight in the sake of time. But, I had a horrible resentment in my life once. about some shit that was literally destroying me. And I had someone tell me, Glenn, that shit had nothing to do with you. Because I was like, they did that shit to me. Don't they know who I am and all that shit? And it was like, that had nothing to do with you, Glenn. And I didn't get it at the time, but now I see it like so crystal clear that exactly what it says right here. They were caught up in their own sickness. When a person offended, we said to ourselves, like I'm reading to you here, this is a sick man. How can I be helpful to him? God, save me from being angry, and thy will be done. So, yeah, man, you might be feeling resentful because somebody has chosen to cut you out of their life for whatever reason, set boundaries for whatever reason, whether it's blocking you on Facebook or not returning your calls, your texts, cutting you off in traffic, whatever the fuck. Cheating on you, if you're in a romantic relationship, God, that's like one of the big resentments right there, makes people fucking homicidal and suicidal, for God's sakes. Domestic, shit that goes on over broken relationships, talk about resentments, man. So, yeah, when someone chooses to set them boundaries, ghost you or unfriend you or whatever the fuck, it makes it a lot easier to pray for them when we apply this principle that is taught to us in the 12-step literature. When a person offends, we say to ourselves, well, this is a sick man. Obviously, they got some issues. There's something going on there. They don't even want to talk with me no more. They got some serious issues with me. I'm the one occupying space in their mind rent-free because they have been offended in some way by something I've said, or their ego is so out of control that they don't want to be associated with me or whatever, to the point that, yeah, man, you're likely dealing with another sick person. That's what I was going to say. Because we all are to a certain degree, aren't we? And we get better and have peace based on, our level of working on ourselves and our own emotions. Whether you're an addict, an alcoholic, or a so-called normie, whatever the fuck that is, So anyway, I thought we'd talk about this a little bit, y'all. Some, good information here, that I need to be reminded of, and certainly was reminded of this past week when it comes to dealing with resentments. And here is more information on that. What is the AA resentment prayer? I talked a little bit about it in the previous slide. Here it says, God, please help me to be free of anger and to see that the world and its people have dominated me. How's that for humility? That old saying, man, those who don't get humble will be humiliated. And certainly that's happened to me in my life, and I've seen it happen to others more times than I could even fucking count. Yeah, the world dominates us whether we like it or not. I don't give a fuck who you are, man. How much money you got, what level of fucking position you think you're in, or whatever the fuck. Sooner or later, man, that old saying, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. Yeah, that's true. So come down off your high horse and get humble. Show me that the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, because like I said, I used to say they did that shit to me, and then my sponsor told me, Glenn, that had nothing to do with you. And it's true. That shit was fancied. I made it up in my own mind. I thought it was all about me. It had nothing fucking to do with me. They were sick-ass people, So show me that the wrongdoing of others, fancied or real, has the power to actually kill me. What the fuck? Think about the power of that statement, man. Resentment has the power to kill me if I let it fester and don't do something about it. You turn on the fucking news all day, every day. It's always right there. I talked about domestic relationships, people cheating on each other or whatever the fuck. People cop a resentment and become homicidal and suicidal. You hear about shit like that all the fucking time. And so there you go, man. It has the power to kill. Resentments do, if we let them fester and don't work on them and try to do something about them. Help me to master my resentments by understanding that the people who wronged me were perhaps spiritually sick. Yeah, man, yeah. Because let's face it, people who are spiritually fit don't fuck you around like that. Don't ghost motherfuckers for no good reason or whatever, who live in a fantasy world, if you will. And oh God, where is
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, people who live in that fantasy world, I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah, I still got a little resentments in there, man. I'm trying to work on them, y'all, but I'm trying to have a sense of humor about it. There are people who just are not spiritually fit. They can't handle the fucking truth, or their ego makes them think they're at another level, that we're below them. They're the plus, we're the minus. Oh, man, that's a whole nother topic. I talked about my old friend Denver, man. He's a big one. Taught me that whole philosophy of the plus minus. If you've never heard of it, look into it. Because people do that all day, every day. I'm guilty of it. We all do it. I try to keep it in check, but every single person we meet all day, every day, we plus minus them. Oh, they're the plus, I'm the minus. Oh, I'm the plus, they're the minus, and we put people at different stages and levels in our life when really we're all equal. Thank you so much, bro. If you ever see this, Denver and Louie taught me that, man. Denver got that license plate that says equal on the back of his bike as a constant reminder. It just goes to show, man, sometimes people you meet in your life, just one little golden nugget, like I talked about earlier, can change your life, the way you look at things and the way you live and the level and amount of peace that you have in your life. That whole plus minus thing, man, that's deep. It's huge, and people who don't get it, they just don't get it, like it says here. Perhaps they're spiritually sick. Their ego or whatever just won't ever let them understand that, man. So anyway, with all that said, I hope if you're a person who's been riding with us on this podcast or comes across a recorded version, because I see we still got several people watching, man. You guys are hanging tough because this is a long one. Yeah, man, hopefully some of this stuff could be helpful. And so as we bring this conversation and this deep dive into the topic of resentments full circle before we move on to some other stuff, I thought this was good to show. Here's a quote from Carlos Dominguez. He says, "Stay away from people that still see the old you and don't respect the current you." So yeah, man, people change, people change, people move on in their lives, and people who are resistant to change, like I said earlier, I learned a long time ago in my life, are destined to be miserable, and God, I hope that never happens to me. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for structure and stability and all that shit. I get that. But life changes, man, and thank God for it. And people change. Thank God for that, too, because if we all just stayed the same and everything stayed the same in life and nothing changed, it'd sure become boring pretty fucking fast. In fact, I get antsy when things stay the same for just a little too long. I'm always looking to shake things up a little bit, and live this life to its fullest, Like that old saying goes, man, a ship in harbor is safe, but that's not what ships were built for. Think about that. So yeah, man, I've changed. I'm a different person. Like I said when I started this whole conversation, there's that saying around NAAA, when you want to get clean and start living clean, change everything. And that's what I did, man. Going back to these sayings, like what I read on the show earlier. Let go of everything. Let go of all the burdens. Let the sky fall down like a blanket. And as scary as it was, man, as hard as it was letting go of that ego and that image and all that bullshit, it was the best thing I ever did for myself. Lowered my stress level in ways I can't even possibly begin to describe, and hit the fucking reset button and started my life over. And I got what I think is the best life I've ever had today. I truly am living my best life. Got shitty days like anybody else, man. Don't fucking envy your old pal Glenn Victor, man. I'm just trying to stay alive and clean another day like anybody else. But people who want to, pigeonhole me into some old mold or image or whatever idea they have in their mind of what kind of person I should be is definitely a person that I need to stay away from. And if somebody's got to set boundaries with me because of it, do you, bro? Do you? It's too bad sometimes, but that's the way it is, I guess. So, anyway, with all that said, y'all, yeah, protect your peace. And that's what I'm trying to do in my life. And that was part of the reason for this show today. To hopefully maybe spread some golden nuggets with other people that may be dealing with resentments and work on myself a little bit in the process too. So moving along, y'all, I want to talk about some DMs. And this is still kind of piggybacking off the topic that we were just talking about. Like I said, y'all, I've had people in my life who I don't hear from anymore since I started this podcast. I mean, fucking crickets. People who have distanced themselves from me, like, oh God, I don't want to be associated with fucking Glenn, or I don't want my name mentioned in the same sentence with fucking Glenn Victor, or addiction, or alcoholism, or any other shit. Stay over there, bro. Matter of fact, don't even contact me. I've had people block me. I get it, and like I said, man, really not trying to have no resentment or anything. What I'll also say is, like I said earlier, sometimes you don't even get props from your own family. And perfect strangers or colleagues or friends send you messages like this. This is actually an old friend of mine that I've known for a long time. We don't see each other anymore or really communicate much. But I thought I'd share this, man, just to give my side of the story, if you will, for anybody throwing me under the bus because of the things I do on this podcast. Like I said earlier, that behavior is inappropriate for the program. He should not be talking like that. I can't believe he said that. Do you believe he brought that up? Whatever the fuck. Do you, boo? I'm doing me, and this podcast is helping some people, and I got a couple things here I'm going to share as proof of it. So, yeah, my old friend Linda, I just kind of edited this a little bit. There's no place for worrying about what others think. But if you do end up dwelling on it ever, dwell on the fact that being authentic has elevated you to a place of admiration that most of us will never earn. Oh my God, Linda, thank you so much for that message and how powerful that is, man. For someone to say something like that to me, how could I possibly hold a resentment towards someone else who's fucked up over the things I'm doing on this show when I get a message like this? I hope Sacramento gives you a lot of long overdue joy. You've already helped many, many people in your various hats. You've saved lives before, and no doubt will keep doing so. Lots of love and luck, my friend. And then that was a message right as we were about to start. And now here's one I just got recently. I kind of edited out some personal things, but it says, "Isn't life crazy, Glenn?" Yeah, it is. I say it all the time. Life is fucking crazy. And then at the bottom she wrote, "Stay strong. I believe that you are serving a purpose bigger than yourself." A bigger purpose than yourself. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. I can't tell you how much that means to me. Here's another one. That boy Chris Soldani. We had Soldani. He's a talented musician, rapper, artist. We had him on the show a few weeks ago. God, man, what a talented guy. And I just thought I'd share this, a message he sent. Hey, man, I just want to say I really enjoy your podcast and your focus. I think it's very special, and it resonates with me and helps. Love to you. Well, love to you, bro. Love to you. God damn. Once again, man, I'm trying not to get filled up, y'all, because, like I've said on here before, that boy Mike Woods was on a few weeks ago, and he talked about imposter syndrome. And if you don't know what that is, look it up and read about it, man. It's like I get that shit with this podcast. Sometimes, I second guess myself, like, oh, God, what have I done now? Certain people won't even talk to me no more, or other people that fucking ghosted me, or I don't hear from so-and-so no more, or whatever the fuck, or they're pissed off because I did this, or I said that, and I don't even know what the fuck I said, or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? But then I get messages like this, So means the world to me when I get this positive feedback, y'all. I wanted to send another shout out. These are two friends of mine. Like I said, man, sometimes you get more love from perfect strangers than you do people who've known you half your life, because they have this fucking image of you of how they think you should be or are supposed to be or whatever the fuck. When, like that boy Al Stewart said that I talked about at the first of the show, who's 78 years old, said he gets together with family for, a holiday meal once in a while, and when he leaves, he thinks to himself, Jesus Christ, I have nothing in common with these fucking people. What the fuck? But he has a bond with his band members he only known 6 or 7 years that he said he wouldn't trade for the world. Well, that's kind of how I feel with some of these people that I've met along my journey. And these are two girls I met from Denver in San Francisco at this Mallrat concert that we talked about and did a whole show on. Two friends of mine, Aubrey and Ainsley, and they live in Denver, and I just thought I'd show that beautiful picture of them both. And so anyway, I thought I'd share this, and I know she wouldn't mind me sharing this. I get this message, Glenn, I love you, man. I was just thinking of you the other day. Listen to your podcast. So, yeah, man, if you're a person judging me because of what we do with this podcast, and you think I'm a fucking idiot or an asshole or whatever the fuck, and shut me out and ghost me and unfriend me, defriend me, whatever the fuck, do you, boo? Because guess what? There are people that do love what I'm doing and support what I'm doing on here, and we have helped people. It ain't for everybody, and if you don't like the way I'm doing it, that's on you, man. That's on you, bro. Yeah, that's on you. So here's another one. And this is actually from a family member of mine. So I got to say, man, I haven't seen this guy in so long. I mean, literally since we were kids. This is a cousin of mine, Joey. He goes by the name Jayadiba. And that's actually my real last name, Kudnick. Victor's my middle name and my stage name I've used on radio and TV for years. But I showed this picture of myself because that was a cover of a video that I posted on social media talking about the future of this podcast and, how I was trying to decide what to do once we reached that magic number of 50 episodes. And he posted, "Keep it going, good energy." I had no idea my cousin was even watching or listening to this podcast. None whatsoever. And here I get a message like this from him, and he's like a pretty cool dude from what I understand. It's been a long time, but into, spirituality like me and the whole yoga-esque lifestyle and all that, if I'm, following everything that, I am correctly. So this comment meant the world to me too, man. People are different, it ain't for everybody. People like different things. So anyway, shout out to my friend Linda, to that boy Soldani, to Aubrey and Ainsley, to my cousin, Jayadiba. These are just a few, y'all. I got a fucking message this morning that blows my mind of someone reaching out for help. We get it all the time, y'all, all the time. So yeah, more to come on all that, y'all. So anybody who got an attitude or resentment toward your old pal Glenn on things I talk about or say on this podcast, man, others are relating. So maybe it just ain't for you, it is what it is. Moving along, I thought this was the perfect slide to transition out of all that, y'all. Be Victor. The world will adjust. And I thought that was a good one because I don't know if you can see it, but I have a Joe Cool Snoopy tattoo, and came across this online. Yeah, B. Victor. That's, my middle name and the name I go by, Glenn Victor. the world will adjust. Yeah, man, life ain't perfect. People come and go. Just sometimes it's hard when, people turn out to be someone other than who you thought they were, or, develop opinions of you that you don't necessarily think are justified or whatever the fuck, like I said, maybe, it's a situation.
You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Should we do it one more time, y'all? One more time.
You can't handle the truth.
I had to do it. I'm sorry. That's me just kind of had a little touche, salt to the wound. But anyway, y'all. So, with all that said, I hope some of the information I shared there was helpful to some. This is a long show. It's coming up on one of the longest we've ever done, with the exception of our Christmas and New Year's shows. But we're going to move on now, y'all, and talk a little bit about the opioid crisis in the news, just real quick, and then I got some cool shout-outs, and then we're going to wrap the show up. It'll be done here probably within the next 15 minutes or so, y'all. This is going to be a fun part of the show. That was the educational part we just finished, and hopefully healing part for some, including yours truly. All about resentments and the steps and all that other stuff, But the opioid crisis in the news, y'all. We thought we'd just mention this. I was tempted to play video of his actual testimony, but it was like all over the news, all over the internet, all over social media. So I didn't want to just replay what most people are paying attention, probably seen already. But the musician and singer, rapper, country star, music guy, Jelly Roll is his stage name, testified before the Senate and the banking committee to encourage them to pay closer attention to and provide more funding for the fentanyl crisis, to combat the fentanyl crisis. And so the headline here that I pulled, there's a shit ton of stuff out there. Jelly Roll, former drug dealer and current Grammy nominee, speaks against fentanyl to the Senate. It's very moving, very powerful, y'all. The dude has a gift, man, very articulate. He had some notes there, and he had a safety net guy sitting next to him and stuff like that. But, man, he had a very powerful speech that I can't encourage you enough, to go watch, because let's face it, man, this shit's killing people still left and right. Like I often say on here, if you think the opioid crisis is getting better, you're badly mistaken. It's only getting worse. We had another story that I was going to show on the podcast today, but our boy Dean has gone MIA on us. I don't see him. Oh, there he is. All right. Well, hey, Dean, I'm sorry, bro. Do we have that video of the Sacramento ODs ready? Because, y'all, I just thought we'd talk about this. I've spent a lot of time on this podcast talking about the drug crisis, the fentanyl crisis, the opioid crisis in the Tenderloin district of San Francisco. I've talked about it in Miami. I've talked about it in Detroit. We've talked about it in Philly, in West Virginia. We've talked about this, drug scourge in Canada, in Israel, for God's sakes. We talked about it in Mexico, all over the world, all over the country, all these different cities and places, but haven't really talked much about it right here in my own backyard of Sacramento, California. Well, guess what? Just here in the past couple days, y'all. Oh my God, I'm trying not to get emotional. It's so fucking sad. It's like I just said, it goes to show this shit is not getting better. It's still getting worse, y'all. 8 people, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, and yeah, I'm doing this for effect, not 6, not 7, 8 fucking people died from a drug overdose in like a little 2-mile radius within a couple days just a hop, skip, and a jump down the road from where I live, right here in the metro Sacramento area. It's a hot batch, y'all. And as we all know, these people cutting dope and lacing it with fentanyl are doing it right in their own kitchen sink. So, looks like Dean's got the story. Let's go ahead, give it a look and a listen, then we'll talk about it. And we're getting near the end of the show, y'all.
The area that we're talking about, today's overdose death happened at a motel off of Folsom Boulevard. So you see downtown Sacramento on the left-hand side of your screen. And if you go into this particular area, Rosemount, La Riviera, this is the area that we're talking about right before you get to Rancho Cordova. And detectives saying all the ODs occurred within that 2-mile area, leading them to believe that the drug, which was cocaine, was possibly containing fentanyl and did come from the same person or the same group of people.
The East Sacramento drug overdose crisis continues. This morning, sheriff's deputies and fire crews responding to Vince's motel along Folsom Boulevard. The victim did not survive. The Sacramento County Sheriff's Office says this is now the 8th drug overdose in this particular area in the past week. 5 of those that OD'd died. Investigators relying on those that survived to get to the bottom of what's going on.
From what we're understanding, these overdoses all stemmed from what the users thought was cocaine.
Today's death at the motel is the first time this particular business has been tied to the ongoing situation. However, deputies say all of the other overdoses occurred within a 2-mile radius of this general area. The sheriff's office suspects the cocaine was created in large batches, and because of the deaths, fentanyl is likely the culprit.
These dealers are concerned about one thing, and it's profits. They don't care about your safety, and these are not UC Berkeley lab-trained chemists that are mixing these substances. These are guys mixing it in their bedrooms, in their garages, and it's this much will get you high and that much will kill you. You really can't tell.
The sheriff's office getting the word out about what's going on, in part because more people could potentially fall victim.
We've got folks out there investigating. Our ultimate goal is to find out where it's coming from.
And while deputies look for the person or group responsible, you will remember that back in October, Placer County became the first county in the state to hand down a murder sentence related to a fentanyl death.
Wow.
Mothers and fathers.
Yeah, I appreciate you showing that one, Dean. Yeah, and I mean, that was just, it's like a whole series of stories, but that was pretty intense, man. 8 people dying from an OD, and that's just like I said, y'all, in the past few days here in the Sacramento area. So if you're a person using, and you might come across our podcast because you're looking for information or a way out, I hope that story slapped you right in the face, man. And all the more reason I say, yeah, I might get a little self-conscious when I do this show from time to time about putting myself out there and all that shit, but that could have been me, y'all. That could have very easily been me. Like I say on here many times, man, I truly feel like I am living on borrowed time. I could have came across some of that bullshit dope, fake pills laced with fentanyl just as easy as any of them folks. And thank God I'm still here. And hopefully what we're doing with this podcast might help save someone else too. So, with all that said, y'all, yeah, just a couple quick stories in the news this week. But we keep our eye on it all the time, and we'll keep you posted on anything that we think we need to be talking about when it comes to the opioid crisis in the news. But right now, we're going to do some shout-outs. We're getting near the end of the show. I had to show this, man. Shout out to them boys, Derek, Buddy, and Bill. There we are, y'all. This came up in my memories on Facebook this past week. You can see it's dated January 15th of last year. And I put about last night and the weekend, best crew ever. Real ones, because it truly was, oh my God, I could spend 2 hours talking about this. I won't do that to you and hold you hostage. If you follow me on social media and have for a long time, this truly was a reunion of me and friends from different periods of my life. We talk about on this podcast how certain people are part of your life for a season, and different people come and go. Well, all 3 of these guys have been and always will be special to me, especially after this reunion. That friend of mine, Derek, right there, is my very first friend ever that I ever had in my life. We've known each other since we were like fucking 5, 6 years old or whatever it is. He lives in Seattle now, and I'm here in Sacramento. We both grew up in Detroit. Who would have thunk? And then the guy with the beard, the ZZ Top brother holding his fist up behind me, is Buddy. And me and Buddy were friends for a season when I lived in Garden City, Michigan. I lived there for, I think, 5 years during kind of like my teenage years and all. And oh my God, did we used to have a lot of fun partying together and all that kind of stuff. And Derek and Buddy both flew out to Las Vegas and met me there. And then the guy right next to Buddy with the gray shirt and the glasses on is my old pal Bill, who I've known for years from the Orlando, Florida area. And so it truly was one nation under a groove. You had Derek there from Seattle, Buddy from Michigan, Bill from Orlando, Florida, and me from Sacramento, California. And we all met in Las Vegas, not just for this reunion, but to go see this guy, Dr. Funkenstein. There he is, George Clinton. And I'll tell you what, man, my life is so fucking crazy. Sometimes the coincidences, if you want to call them that or whatever. Here, that photo I just showed you of me and Derek and Buddy and Bill hanging out in Las Vegas a year ago to the day on January 15th. 1 year and 4 days later, you can see this is dated January 19th, George Clinton got his star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. And there's a picture of him all decked out, man. As if you know Dr. Funkenstein, he's extravagant, man. And there ain't nothing low-key about him. He's always been that way. And we went to see him in Las Vegas and had the time of my life. I hope it was the time of their life for the other guys too. I persuaded them all to meet me out there, by the way, and they did. They came, and we had front row tickets, y'all. And so, yeah, man, George Clinton gets his star on the Hollywood. And a lot of people said, well, what took so long? The dude's like pushing 80. You know, he's been this legend. And I mean, if you don't know who George Clinton is, what rock have you been living under? I don't give a fuck if you're a teenager or an 80-year-old guy or woman or anywhere in between. Even if you don't like that kind of music, how could you not have heard of him? I mean, I don't know. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people said long time coming that he got his. And just like me, now he's got a star on the Walk of Fame in Hollywood. I'm just kidding, y'all. Yeah, but there I am with my star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, your old pal Glenn Victor, and that Grammy I won, I wish. Yeah, if you want a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, you can have one too for $20. When you go walking, if you've never been there, it's a tourist spot, and there's all these little places where they can set the letters up and spell your name out, and they got little trophies and get a picture. But I was just having some fun with that. This one is legit. George Clinton did legitimately get his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And oh my God, I looked through all the stuff online about it, and there were a shit ton of celebrities and musicians and, you know, different people there to participate and be part of it. And there, of course, is that boy Anthony Kiedis from Red Hot Chili Peppers, who has been a huge fan of George Clinton for years. If you know, you know, you know. So anyway, he was there. Thought I'd show that picture of him. Got a little Michigan connection there. And now, a little bit of a treat, because this fucking blows my mind, y'all. Like I said, number one, it's so bizarre that practically 1 year, almost to the day, that I reunited with these friends from different parts of my life, Derek, Buddy, Bill, from different places around the country and all that shit. Almost 1 year to the day that we saw George Clinton together, front row, at the Westgate Resort in, fabulous Las Vegas, which, by the way, was the same auditorium where Elvis Presley did his residency all those years. And we had front row tickets to see the legend Dr. Funkenstein himself, and the whole Parliament Funkadelic band was there and group, George Clinton. And guess what, y'all? He came down into the audience and was walking around with his microphone and going up to different people during that song Atomic Dog. Yeah, the classic Atomic Dog. And man, we're partying, singing along. I was kind of a little more than the rest of the crew. And George Clinton walks up to the front of the stage, comes right up to me, right up to yours truly during the middle of the song, and sticks the microphone right in my face in front of this auditorium with however many couple thousand people in there. And I was, oh man, it's like, okay, you don't have no choice when that happens, man. It was like, and I sang part of that song, and I got a video of it. Now I will tell you, this fucking video is real choppy, because I was filming George with my phone while he was walking around, not having any fucking idea he was going to come up to me and stick a mic in my face. So now I got my phone and I'm trying to film myself singing with George Clinton and after. So it's a little choppy, but you'll see it. I actually got pretty good video of it. So with all that said, Dean, you got the video ready? This is good, y'all. Watch this. Check it So there you go, y'all. Oh my God. Just watching that video like transports me back to that place and time, and it's just so surreal. I still can't believe it. I have loved George Clinton since, God, I was a little kid, man. I just One Nation Under a Groove, and, We Want to Funk. You get it, man. All that stuff. God, if I had $1 for every time I played Atomic Dog in the clubs when that thing was a banger, it's like, and was big, I could have retired a long time ago, man. And to meet George Clinton and actually sing his song with him holding that microphone in my face, oh my God, I'm getting emotional, man, because it was truly like one of the highlights of my fucking life, man. It's just like, if you know me from, watching this podcast or whatever the fuck, you know what a music guy I am, man. And that was just, it was such a surreal night to be there with my old friends that I reunited with, Derek, who I hadn't seen in, God, I think we figured it was something like 48 years or whatever. buddy who I hadn't seen in 30 some years. There's a long story of how Bill and I ended up there together that's pretty powerful. And for that to happen to me, it just still blows my mind watching that video and thinking about it. You know what occurred to me watching that video is there was really, just like with this podcast, man, it ain't for everybody. And there's some people who may have watched it or whatever and just like, God, what's he getting like filled up over George Clinton? Are you kidding me? God, you wouldn't have caught me there dead, Some people really feel that way, It's like, okay, whatever, But you could see that was a very eclectic crowd, man. There was black, there was white, there was older, there was younger, that one hot girl, and just everybody was vibing and having such a great time. I mean, there was like no drama. Even the guards and security, they were just letting us do our thing and vibing. And I mean, it was truly one of the best nights of my life. I can honestly say that, y'all. I had so much fun. And what a fucking coincidence that 1 year later, almost to the day, George Clinton gets his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, man. So cool. Yeah. So anyway, had to do a shout out to them boys, Derek, Buddy, and Bill, and of course to Dr. Funkenstein himself. Don't know if he'd ever see this, but hey, we hashtag and all that other stuff. George Clinton, what an honor it was to meet you, bro, and sing your song with you while you held the microphone in my face. Just amazing to me. So anyway, y'all, okay. We're going to move along now. We are almost done, y'all. This turned into a much longer show than I ever thought it would. I thought we might knock this one out in a couple hours. But like I said, man, I don't script this thing. I make an outline. I have structure. We have slides. We have videos. Matter of fact, we had a couple things we didn't even get to tonight. There was a couple videos we were going to play, but, I got off on some other topics and went a little bit deeper into some topics than I thought I would. So the point I'm making is, we just go with the flow sometimes. And God bless you, Dean, and thank you for your patience, man, hanging tough with us on this show. I know it turned into be a long one, man, but I really, truly feel, y'all, like this was one of the most, and I hope I'm saying the word right, substantive. Is that how you say it? The one of the additions of this program that had the most substance when it comes to actual practical ideas for dealing with something as powerful as resentments, like we talked about. It's considered the number one offender that destroys alcoholics and addicts. And we took some time to really do a deep dive into talking about some practical ideas for dealing with them. And I'm going to give you one more tidbit because I meant to mention this earlier. It'll only take a second. This is something I learned when I was going through rehab. When I went through treatment at a place called Brighton Hospital up in Michigan, one of the most respected treatment centers in the entire country and one of the oldest ones out there too. In fact, that boy Marshall Mathers, Eminem, went through treatment there. He raps about it in one of his songs. And that was a good trip for me, y'all. When I went through there, I came out and stayed clean for 6 years before I relapsed on the opiates. And anyway, where I'm going with that is one of the exercises we did there when it came to resentments and just, journaling or writing about things that were really fucking with you or affecting your peace or your mental state or whatever was we wrote. You didn't have to. I did. I was really trying to heal there. I did good work when I was there, and I wrote a lot. And we had some campfire meetings. And one of the suggestions for us that did choose to do some deep dive writing was when we were done, writing about our resentments, our harms, our amends, whatever the case may be was, and I had pages, to bring them to the bonfire meeting and let them burn and go up and smoke. And it was very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? It was very healing to start with, very ritualistic, if you want to call it that, whatever, where, several of us did it. And, we took time to talk a little bit before, and then we just laid all the pages in the middle of the bonfire and let it all go up in smoke. And everybody kind of would say together, let it go. And people would say to me, let it go, Glenn, let it go. And you watch all these resentments burn up that you poured out on paper and poured your heart out through the pen on paper, burn in the fire and just go up in smoke. So, yeah, it was very, I'm trying to think of the word. I'll come up with it later, but it was very ceremonious, if you will, symbolic. That's the word I'm looking for. It was very symbolic and a way to actually go through this process of letting go of those resentments. So what I'll say to you, y'all, kind of in closing, as we, go into some of these little funny memes before we wrap up the show, is you don't have to go into drug treatment to do something like that. You don't have to go to a rehab. You don't even have to be an addict or an alcoholic. You got shit that's fucking with you, resentments, anger, whatever the case may be. Boy, there sure is power in the pen, man. We got all this stuff floating around up in our head that fucks with us all day, every day, in one ear, out the other, and it's there. But, man, the pen can be a great outlet. You write that shit down on paper, and now it's something tangible that you can look at in black and white, man. That's one thing I will say about 12-step programs, man. They give a lot of relevance to writing stuff down because it's important and it's true. It's very healing. So what I'm saying to you is, yeah, you could go through that little process I just described right in your own backyard. Or, there's bonfire meetings usually around every city or town I ever been to. I know we got one right down the road here in Sacramento. I know they got one in Orlando area, Detroit. You pick your city, man. There's always some kind of bonfire meeting. And it is kind of a symbolic way to let those resentments go. Write them down on paper, man, and just let them go, Protect your peace. Okay. So, let's end the show on a humorous note, y'all. Our little funny memes header, I like that. So, here's one that I thought applied to everything we talked about tonight. Look, guys, I know I've been bad. I've said and posted things many of you found to be unfavorable. However, with your help and a little bit of encouragement, I can become so much worse. I love it, man. And then here's one. This is kind of a play off of the New Year. Is it still appropriate to tell people Happy New Year? I did have someone tell me Happy New Year a couple days ago who I hadn't seen since before the New Year, but I think we're getting kind of late in the year to be saying Happy New Year now. But nonetheless, this one says, to those I offended in 2023, try to improve so I don't have to do it again in 2024. I loved it because, like I said earlier, man, sometimes people cop a resentment toward us or did something to us or choose to ghost us or distance themselves from us or whatever. And we take it so personal when actually it may be the other person that's spiritually sick or unfit or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, man, try to improve. So, anyway, a lot of people are learning from you in private, but will never let it be known in public. I talked about some of them people I know that have blocked or unfriended me on Facebook or Insta or social media, and I think they check back in every once in a while. And you know how I know is because, they're gone, but then every once in a while they appear in my people you may know line or whatever. Or maybe it's just somebody that's always, and I think it has to do with the algorithms. They're stalking your page, so all of a sudden now the algorithm thinks, oh, well, let's put them into people they know. So we see you out there. Ooh, 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 ah, ooh, ooh. We see you. And so, yeah, man, I think a lot of people do stalk other people's social media, Facebook, Insta, whatever the case may be, and maybe even in some cases this podcast. And hopefully, I mean that. I know that was a sarcastic one to put up there, but I mean it sincerely. Maybe there are a lot of people learning from something we talk about on this podcast in private, and maybe never let it be known in public, and that's fine too. We don't care, man. We love the props we get, like those DMs I shared. But if someone's learning something in private that might help them with their piece or to get through even one day longer clean, that's fine with us. So, moving along, someone said, be careful what you put on the internet. Talking about all that. It'll be there forever. So maybe that might even have something to do with people having issues with shit I put out there. Like, oh my God, now that shit's out there forever. But if that's true, then where the fuck are my MySpace pictures? Who remembers MySpace, man? You know, I will tell you, I've said on here before, I'm no stranger to this social media shit. You know, I jumped off for a long time, man. I was just over it. You know, it is exhausting sometimes, but, you know, I've been going balls to the walls with it since we started this podcast, and even several months leading up to it, just to kind of get attention so people, you know, would know we were doing it and all. But, my first go around with social media, like a lot of people, was back in the MySpace days. And boy, I'm having memories of Napster when we would download music and all that stuff. But yeah, man, MySpace is it's like a ghost town now with tumbleweeds blowing through and all that other shit. I don't even know if you can still log. I wouldn't know my password if my life depended on it and all that other stuff. I know they were supposed to have converted it to some kind of music site or something. I may have to go check it out again one day. I don't even know if it's still a thing. But yeah, you know, I thought that was a funny one to share and relevant with everything we talked about tonight. And then, y'all, this is our final slide of the night, and then we're going to wrap our show up. I posted this, lifted this from a friend of mine, John, this past week. Shout out, John, if you see this. I told him I got to take that and repost it. And I had more people like and comment on this than I have something I posted in a long time. When I'm 80, I don't want people to say, what a nice old man. I want them to say, oh my God, what the hell is he up to now? And I put, if I make it that long, because, man, I tell you, I've always have to say, I always worked hard and played harder. And if I make it to 80, I'll be amazed, you know. But hopefully I can stay healthy, and I do, you know. And if I do, yeah, I damn sure hope nobody's saying, oh, God, what a nice old man. I hope they're saying, like, oh, my God, what the fuck is Glenn up to now, you know? And so with all that said, y'all, this was a marathon, long-ass edition of the Dare Me podcast, but we have now, in fact, come full circle with this edition of the show, episode 45, just 5 more to go, y'all, till we reach that magic number of 50 that I committed to when we started this whole process. And then, as we talked about last week, the week before last, actually, we got plans. We got plans for the podcast. There's changes coming and all that other stuff. But we'll keep you posted on all that. Thank you so much if you watched live, if you listened live, if you come across the recorded version. We appreciate your support of the podcast. Sincerely hope that we might have talked about or shared anything tonight that might have been helpful to anyone, even if it was just a little portion of the show, because we know people don't listen or watch for the whole damn tonight 3.5 hours of the show. Even like myself, when I watch or listen to podcasts, I bit piece it. I might catch a half hour here, 20 minutes there, and, you know, hour later, whatever, you know, or maybe, you know, get bored with it and not catch the whole thing, just from time to time parts of it. So we hope, again, that something we say or talk about on the show might help someone. And with all that said, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're going through hell, keep fucking going. You'll come through the other side. Don't give up. Just keep going. And if you're struggling with any type of addiction, whether it's opiates, any other drug, you know, you can get through it. I'm living proof of it, y'all. Coming up, hopefully, good Lord willing, on 3 years clean again, March 11th. And oh man, is that going to be a celebration on the Dare Me podcast when that day, hopefully, good Lord willing, comes. And so with all that said, Just want to say thank you to our rock star and very patient co-host and producer, Dean Baker, who has been following along live from the Dare Me podcast and PFX Media studio in Orlando, Florida, all night long. Thank you so much, Dean, for keeping us live on the air. Anything you want to add before we call it a night, bro?
We're good.
All right. Well, hey, thanks again, everyone. Have yourself a great week. Be safe. Go Lions. And we'll talk to you next time on the Dare Me podcast. So long.